Hopefully you're having a good day. We appreciate you being with us. Musso in the chair today,
What's up,
audio
Moo?
producer.
Hey guys,
Yeah,
how you doing,
good
man?
to see
Doing
good to
good.
see you.
Yeah.
You just came in here and threw everybody out. Said, no, I'm doing
Pretty
the
much,
show
yeah.
today. Paul O'Neill, the video producer. Playboy Marty's back off vacation, so we got the whole
Vacation. There's
the
no
whole
telling
group,
what kind of vacation Playboy Marty had.
the whole group is back in play here, and so glad that you're with us.
How was your weekend?
Mine was good.
Good?
Yeah, it was. Got to. There was no point of any day where there wasn't some sports to watch.
Yeah.
It's been a long time since that's been the case. Okay, so if you wanted to watch the NBA, pretty much from noon until almost midnight, there was NBA to watch. If you wanted to watch Major League Baseball from 11 to 12 until midnight, there was Major League Baseball to watch. If you wanted to watch golf in the afternoon, there was golf in the afternoon to watch. If you are a hockey fan and you wanted to watch hockey, there was hockey to watch.
Avalanche Blues, good game yesterday.
Was that the 1 second,
Yeah.
the 10th of a second? That will really make you appreciate instant replay because the shot from on top of goal with the clock in the bottom corner of the screen showed that the puck cleared the line with 0.1 seconds to go. I mean, it's too close for the naked eye to be able to record. So
That's
for them
right.
to do that was pretty cool. There was football news all over the weekend. So if you've been in withdrawals, okay, and I know we had baseball back last weekend, so we're starting to get back into it, but the news has been mostly good. This is not going to be flawless. It's not going to be perfect, but there was sports to watch, and there was a lot of good news. I thought over the weekend as we head into the first week of what's going to be football practice with all sorts of stipulations. But
We're not
football
even
practice,
saying camp, I don't think, right? It's like it's like kind of in between. Maybe we can get to where we say camp.
I think we're talking about practice. We're talking about practice. Look, we understand that this is not going to be perfect. The teams that have done, the leagues that have done, I shouldn't even say teams, the leagues that have done the most in preventive maintenance, and none of it happened as fast as we wanted, they're having the least amount of problems, the NBA and the NHL.
Yep.
The league that did the least amount in enforcing the protocols and putting them in place is having the most problems. Major League Baseball. The NFL has noticed. The colleges have noticed. And so you get a story like today, which is the Saints. The Saints are putting themselves in what Sean Payton is not calling a bubble, but rather a sequester. But I feel comfortable calling it at the very least a pseudo bubble, a mini bubble. They've rented out the top 4 floors of the Lowe's Hotel. This is down by the French Quarter, and they are putting almost all of their employees. Now, this is their coaches, this is their trainers, this is their players, this is their executives. They have what they call 180 Tier 1 and Tier 2 employees. This is everybody except the security people that are back in their building, the cafeteria workers, and the doctors. Everybody else is going in the bubble. They're going in the top 4 floors of the Lowe's Hotel. And they're going to try to contain it that way. The good news was the first round of testing, they did 3 tests per player at 80 players and came back with 0 positive tests. Right. Okay, this is a great place to start. And they did get down to 80 players. I thought that was another significant move. The Saints are a veteran team. We don't expect very many outliers to make this club from out of nowhere off the undrafted, free agent list. But they got down to 80 players. They didn't have to get down to 80 players until the 16th. Yep. They chose to do that voluntarily now to just reduce that many fewer players in the building. They had 2 players opt out, and then they cut 8 more. The names you'll recognize are Tommy Lee Lewis, who was the recipient of the no call, and Adrian McGee, former LSU lineman, who was signed as an undrafted free agent. The rest of them are mostly journeymen. So nobody on Tommy Lee Lewis, I guess, had a chance to make the team. He's made the team before. Everybody else was pretty much a long shot. Right. They're moving him out of out of the hotel. I almost said the locker room. Moving them out of the hotel, and they're saying, "Hey, this is what we can do. This is the best we can do." And they're going to stay in that hotel until the first game.
Yeah.
And they may stay in after the first game. Some of the veterans may choose to sequester there after the season starts. So it's part of the protocols that they're trying to go through to make sure they can play. They're really, if you are a veteran and you live in New Orleans, okay, let me ask you, you were in camp not that long ago. All right. So they tell you, hey, your wife and your kids are 6 miles down the road, 6 miles away from the training facility, but you can't go home every day. We need you to go to the hotel. We need you to not see them for the next 6 weeks. Really? Yeah, about 6 weeks. How you taking that? That's a sacrifice.
Yeah, so both situations I was in the NFL as far as camp were different. In San Diego, our hotel was right down the road, but Norv didn't mind if you're a veteran player, if you had a couple extra minutes and if you wanted to go home, or there was a couple of restaurants right by the facility. If you wanted to go meet your wife and kids and have lunch with them or whatever, right? If you had an extra hour, okay, that's fine. Go do that. And so that situation would have been difficult when I was in San Diego. But when I got to Denver, John Fox, he made you leave your car at the facility, right? And he knew exactly where your car was supposed to be parked once you got to camp. And you took buses from the facility to the Ramada, the team hotel, and then you took buses, obviously, back to the facility. That way you could not go home. That way you were focused on football. You didn't have the opportunity to go anywhere else. And so it's kind of the same situation. And a coach has been doing this for a long time. And there's a numerous amount of franchises that go off for camp. Even when they don't go off, they do stuff like Foxy did there in Denver. So honestly, these players probably for the most part are used to it. They've probably been somewhere. Some of these players have been somewhere, been with another organization that has done something like this. And so it's difficult. It's 6 weeks where you don't really see your family. You don't get to see your children. That was always the toughest part of the NFL. That's why I decided to retire. But when I got invited to go to Saints camp my last year, I was like, look, I'm beat up. I'm probably gonna have to have another knee surgery, and I don't want to go to.
I don't want to leave my kids.
West Virginia.
I don't want to leave my wife and kids.
I don't want to go there for 6 weeks. And I had the luxury of being invested already and having that decision, so it definitely plays a factor into it. But if you're still wanting to play, and if that is your goal, you guys say, hey, it's gonna be a tough 6 weeks, but I have to do it. I have to go for 6 weeks and buy in and make this about the team. And after that, then we can revisit this.
Teams are doing what is within their means to do. The Eagles had Doug Peterson, their coach, test positive. The Saints have already been through this. Sean Payton tested positive way back at the beginning of the pandemic. Yeah. Carolina Panthers are doing something unique. They put their players in the stadium. They don't have a large, what you would call luxurious facility like, say, the Cowboys do.
Right.
And the Cowboys have this palatial Cowboy land thing. Panthers don't have that, so they're putting their practices in the stadium, and they're putting their players in the luxury suites in between that for virtual meetings. That way, on the suite level, they're all in the ring. The coaches can go from room to room if they want to. Otherwise, they're on their tablet. They're in the meetings. That's their way of sequestering everybody. Yeah. And they've got something else. We sort of, I don't know if we say poke fun. We just, this whole thing, whatever. Mac Brown with his stick, right? Mac Brown at North Carolina practice with his 6 foot, with his double yardstick. And so the Panthers don't have stick guy. They've got horn guy. Horn guy is one of those guys with an air horn. And every 9 minutes, don't ask me why 9 minutes, it's just that's what they picked.
Okay.
Every 9 minutes, horn guy blows the horn. And everybody's got to scatter. On the practice field, wherever you are, whatever you're doing, get 6 feet away from everybody. Every 9 minutes, horn guy blows the horn. I'm not making this up.
We're going to hear so many different things from so many different places.
If it works.
And everybody's going to try to do something unique to their franchise that tries to work, right? I
don't know how much Mac Brown's yardstick costs, but those little air horn things are not expensive.
Yeah.
You can go buy one. Tell this story or not.
Now you have to.
Yeah, I kind of do. The Saints used to have horn guy back when they were in Vero Beach. This is back in the 80s. And every day they sent this kid into the I won't call it barracks. They were in kind of like a barracks. It was Dodger Town. It was where the Dodgers trained, and they had sleeping quarters and all that. And they would send one of the lowest trainer on the rankings. Okay, probably the 21-year-old kid that's just trying to earn his keep, and every morning at 6 a.m. he'd go in there and blow the horn to wake everybody up. And the last day of camp, the veterans taped him to the goalpost, hung the horn around his neck with a sign that said, "Blow me." Right on the horn. See how much trouble I get in for that one.
Yeah, we'll say, hey, it's okay. It made for a great story. But it's funny. Speaking of the horn guy, Phillip Rivers was our horn guy.
He was horn guy? Well, you don't want to mess with the quarterback.
He'd walk in the hallway in the hotel and just and he's an early riser and just blow the horn. Early bird gets the worm and just. But what are you going to say to the quarterback?
Right. He's
taping him to the goalpost. He signed a couple of $100 million contracts.
Probably not. The Raiders are practicing in Las Vegas in 113-degree heat. They've got to be off the field for 10 a.m.
Hate to hear it.
Every morning. Just for comparison's sake, last year they were practicing in Oakland where the high today is 64. So a little bit of a change for that.
Hope Foster hydrated today, and Jeremy Hill, who just signed over the weekend
signed with the Raiders. That's right. And one other thing, whereas we get into the NFL, we've had some more opt-outs and things like that. They're starting to put travel restrictions, travel protocols together. This one is right in your wheelhouse because one of the things that they're doing is they are talking about teams from the East and West Coast not being able to fly in 2 days early. When you were with the Chargers, you guys did this routinely. If you were going to the East Coast, you went in 2 days ahead of time, right?
Yeah, almost every trip that unless it was in California, we were going on a Friday. Even Seattle, it's on the. People think, it's on the West Coast, but it's still it's a hike to get up to Seattle, from San Diego. So we would go on Fridays. Almost every trip outside of Oakland and the 49ers, that was going to be a Friday trip. And you got to think, if we're coming from San Diego and we're going to play Buffalo, that's a long flight, and you're talking about a couple of time zones you're hopping over there. So it was a must that we had to go there on Friday.
In the interest of not spreading this any more than they have to, the league is saying now that they are going to put in a rule that no team can travel 2 days ahead of time, and teams that have 2 consecutive games on one coast are going to have to go back and forth. They're not going to let you stay. Seattle Seahawks are in a particular disadvantage in this thing. They're going to play 5 games in Eastern time. Think about that number of cross-country trips. That's 4 games at the 10 a.m. Pacific time body clock. Playboy Marty, that show that you're on at 6 o'clock with Jimmy and Mintz. You might want to mention that when they're talking about Seattle over-unders on win totals. They gotta hike it across the country 5 times.
Yeah, unless they got a bunch of Big Ten guys on their roster that are used to playing that time slot, or if they have some old-school SEC Jefferson Pilot sports players on their team, that's not going to work out for them.
On the show today, Peter Burns, SEC Network, will be with us in the next hour. In the 2 o'clock hour, Laura Rutledge and Cole Cubelic will be with us. So we're talking football. We're brought to you by Richard Tonda, home of the warm and fuzzy feeling. Hanging with Hester, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Hangin' with Hester and Hanny. We opened up the playbook and expanded our coverage. Listen daily in high definition on 98.1 HD2. We are 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Gulf Coast Bank and Trust is a local bank with a straightforward philosophy.
It's about doing the right thing for our customers.
Participating in our community with annual local fundraisers. Offering individual attention in a modern banking atmosphere with a trusted local company. Gulf Coast Bank invested in technology with a local touch, giving our customers the power to bank anywhere, anytime.
We're building relationships through personal service as the bank that cares about you.
Gulf Coast Bank and Trust, the bank that cares about you.
This is a house call. This is a follow-up appointment. This is a diabetes checkup. This isn't just more convenient care, it's more advanced care. This is innovating healthcare at Louisiana's #1 hospital, Ochsner.
To all of our heroes working on the front lines of this COVID-19 pandemic, your bravery and selflessness represent the very best of us, and we want to say thank you. I'm asking everyone around the state to join me in celebrating the heroism of our healthcare professionals on the 19th of every month at 1900 hours, that's 7 p.m. Write a note of appreciation, make plans to donate to charitable organizations, or say a prayer. To learn more, visit 19thanks.org. Thank you, and God bless.
Crime has serious consequences, but anyone can make a mistake. If you find yourself in trouble with the law, know that you have rights, and it's okay to demand them. The law offices of O.C. Brown are here to protect you and your rights. Felony or misdemeanor, DUI or drug charge. No matter what crime you're accused of, you still have rights. Let the law offices of O.C. Brown uphold them. Call 225-343-1111. Your law firm for a lifetime.
At All-Star Toyota, you get it all. If you're in the market for an all-new Toyota vehicle, come see our friendly and knowledgeable sales team at All-Star Toyota. Located in Baton Rouge at the corner of Airline and Goodwood, we've been serving our community since 2005 by offering a large selection of new Toyota cars, trucks, and SUVs. Get behind the wheel of your dream car and take a test drive at All-Star Toyota today.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals, but many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's 756-2644 for Gulf Coast Office Products.
If I built a van, it would do more than haul.
It would carry my entire business. I'd make it available in dozens, make not thousands of configurations.
It would keep an eye on my fleet.
And an eye out for danger.
If I built a van, I'd make it available in diesel and gas. And I'd build it right here in South Carolina.
Introducing the all-new Sprinter, starting at $33,790. Built in the USA. Mercedes-Benz. Vans. Born to run.
Hey, it's Matt Moscona inviting you to join us for Monday's AFR. Presented by Relief Windows, the Saints Open Training Camp. All the storylines, we'll have them for you on Monday's AFR. Join us 3 to 6, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Hangin with Hester and Hanny on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge and 1130 The Tiger.
We're brought to you by Richard's Honda, home of the warm and fuzzy feeling. Joining us now, Peter Burns, SEC Network. Peter, good afternoon. How are you?
I guess I'm doing good. We're getting ready to get pummeled by this hurricane here, or remnants of this hurricane coming up here in the next day or two. So I'm batting down the hatches, man. It just seems like 2020 has just been a big kick in the junk the entire year so far.
Peter, I was wondering, I got the call from our Sirius XM boss that I needed to fill in. I was wondering what you had going on. I forgot. Y'all got some weather up there.
Yeah, going to have some weather. And a while back, actually, we lost power here, and so we were kind of wondering, all right, what's going on? So luckily, everybody knows they'd rather hear from you than me on any kind of topics here, Hester. So I mean, honestly, the real winners here are the Sirius XM listeners. So
okay, fair enough.
Peters, we start with what are you calling it? Hester and I are like, are we going to call this camp? We're going to call this practice. What are we going to call this preparation for football season? It starts this week. How do you feel about the start, the school's ability to keep everybody safe and eligible and out of harm's way and still prepare them for a season?
Yeah, I mean, I think that if there's ever a conference in college football to have the resources to be able to do that, it would be the SEC. And if there's a school that I think that's going to take it as serious as anybody, it's LSU. So, I mean, I think across the board, guys, everyone is, when you ask the players want to be out there in practice. They want to play. The coaches want to coach. And I think the fans are ready for the season. So, again, I think it's all in a what do we know? There was a big deal made out of this, SEC audio recording with the players. And I kept reading through that going, where's the gotcha moment? Like, I'm not upset that the SEC is holding calls with individual student athletes and saying, hey, here's what we know. What questions do you have? And let those student athletes address their concerns. And, I mean, that's part of all of this right now because there is no playbook. I think that schools, including LSU and the SEC and all throughout college football across the country right now are figuring out, hey, what's the best way to make it safe? Let's play football and let's try to get the season in.
Another part of it, Peter, that I'm kind of concerned about a little bit is if you have practice starting on the same date, you have that August starting date, and then we know the season is pushed back until September 26. Well, you have to make sure as a coach that you don't have training camp that entire time and you don't have all these practices where you wear your team down, because we had Herb Minson on Friday and he said that date has not yet changed. And so we talked about it last year, Peter. You and I talked about it right before the championship game of how great a job Coach O did resting his players. Oklahoma had 7 more practices. Clemson had 4 more practices than LSU, and they did a nice job of keeping the team fresh, and that's going to be a challenge when you have basically almost a 2-month window to get ready for the season when typically you only have 4 weeks.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I look at it as more of a positive. The coaches are not trying to cram a bunch in and try to do fast forward a process in which that cannot be fast forward. You can't just automatically say, hey, get into shape faster, right? Like, you work your plan. There's professionals that work that plan, and Tommy Moffitt and his crew are going to work the best way to get these guys ready to play. And then it's the question of, hey, how do you give them a little bit more free time? I mean, obviously, LSU guys, I think the Tigers won the national championship last year in spring. And what I mean by that is you got your brand new offense installed. Everybody felt pretty good about it. And come fall, it was just wash, rinse, repeat on everything you had. So if there is a little bit more time to kind of catch up the lost ground that you made in spring and also be able to not pile everything in like you would traditional fall camp, and gather more information about how to do this safely, I think it could be a win-win-win all the way around.
Peter, you were active on Twitter this weekend in response to the group of Pac-12 football players that have threatened to opt out of fall camp and gain participation unless some demands are met. What is your assessment of where that is right now and how much momentum it's got?
Yeah, I mean, listen, it's got a lot of momentum. The question is how many players will follow through on it, and what will the Pac-12 do, and then, in essence, what will college football as a whole do? I mean, the kids are not supposed to return back to practice in the Pac-12 until August the 17th. So you do have some time, some runway for discussions. And look, I mean, I jumped on some of the things that I think are undoable, that you cannot obtain from this list of demands, but there is also stuff that they brought to the table like, hey, if we don't want to play the season, we'll be able to keep our scholarship. Well, yes. I mean, that makes perfect sense. I mean, creating a task force for racial inequality and be able to hear voices better. Yes. I mean, LSU's done it. Missouri's done it. All these universities have done it and stepped up. So there are some things that are good. I think what it comes down to is I was just concerned that, the idea that student athletes and football players would get 50% of the revenues without participating in any of the expense costs and keeping 6-year scholarships. I felt like that distracted because it's not doable, and it distracted from the whole ideas that they wanted to move forward with. I mean, listen, guys, I think we all agree, or at least I do, name, image, and likeness rights. Student athletes are going to get it, and they should be able to get it, right? It's not the end of days. And I think partially that was the Pac-12's move was, hey, let's ask for the whole world, and that way, if worse comes to worse, we just get a better name, image, and likeness policy. Well, then ultimately we won a little bit.
Yeah, I agree with you there because name, image, and likeness is different than pay for play. And if you're talking about splitting the revenue, and I know you broke it down over the weekend, that's almost 6 figures per athlete there in football, and that becomes very difficult. But name, image, and likeness, that's something that you go out there on the football field and you earn if you have the right rules and bylaws in place, and you make sure that it's not being money given to someone who hasn't earned it on the field, right? And we're always talking about recruits, but if you're talking about a Joe Burrow, a Tua Tagovailoa, players like that, obviously you want those guys to be able to cash in on their name, image, and likeness. I mean, think about how much money Johnny Manziel could have made in his run there in Texas A&M.
Oh, I mean, think about Hester, wearing a Bogies T-shirt after 07. I mean, my goodness, you might have actually had to never pay for a drink over there, but in your life. So, I mean, again, I think what amateurism in the NCAA was when it was first started and what it is at 2020 is different. There has not been a revisiting of a lot of that stuff because, frankly, it's worked really well for the athletic departments and the schools and the networks that broadcast. And is it time to have that conversation? Yes. Will it be the end of days? No. And ultimately, the thing that I took away that I just did not like is that, they had a whole section saying, hey, stop spending so much money on excessive, facilities. And the conference commissioner, Larry Scott, needs to reduce his salary. And I go, well, wait a minute. As a student athlete, you're telling me you don't want any guardrails. You want the free market to determine how much money you can make off your name, image, and likeness. But in the same money, you want to limit that, so you can't really have it both ways. I just thought that they kind of shot themselves in the foot a couple of times.
What do you expect that the September schedule is going to look like? We've got leagues that are saying they're starting on the 26th, like the SEC. We have games now being moved into August, and seemingly a little bit of everything in between. What are you expecting, and do you think we'll have some kind of, I guess, closure to that this week?
I would hope so. I mean, I would imagine, the athletic directors have been meeting. I think they normally have a once-a-week meeting. And so, after getting all of the information about, hey, when are we starting, how many games we're going to play, and who we're going to play against, that was one. Now, I would imagine this entire week is going to be spent on, do we just move the 2021 and 2022 opponents up? Do we look at some type of strength of schedule formula? I think all of that will probably be presented to the athletic directors, I would guess, sometime this week. And I would imagine they want to get this out as quick as possible. So it would not surprise me if this week that something gets released. But I don't recall what day these athletic directors do meet. I know they talk, daily, but I think that they have like a formal meeting, and I think it's probably somewhat later in the week. But again, I would imagine at some point we would want to do some type of SEC network big schedule reveal, and I haven't been told anything lately of, hey, be prepared, we're going to do something on this date. So it's still to be determined.
As you know, Peter, there's going to be meltdown from half the conference as far as what their schedule is going to look like, and there's so many different models. The next two cross-division opponent on your schedule, you can go back to the next two and maybe even blow it all up and start all over. But no matter what, there's going to be some angry fans from, 6 fan bases in the SEC at minimum.
Hell, I wouldn't want to be at this conference if we didn't have angry fans. I mean, that wouldn't be any fun, right? Like, it just means more yelling because people are passionate about it. And, yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, I know Mark Womack is going to be a big part of that conversation there in the SEC office. And if you ever met Mark doesn't give a flip on what anybody thinks, doesn't care about anything other than, hey, we're going to do what's best for the SEC because this is my legacy. So, I got full confidence in them. The fact that, people might complain, but I do truly think that once people looked at, hey, if you moved up 2021 and 2022, hey, is that necessarily, great for Florida, who now all of a sudden, who was going to, try to compete in the East, and now they're going to have to play Alabama and A&M on top of LSU and Georgia? Like, come on, that may not be fair. So I think, if anything, the SEC is probably going to take a look back and go, let's look at strength of schedule. Let's try to even this out as much as possible. Let the chips fall where they may, and may the best teams meet in Atlanta.
Well, Peter, I've asked this question a few times now. What does strength of schedule mean? Does it mean the strength of schedule from their records last year, the last 2 years, their projected schedules for this year? What exactly does strength of schedule mean?
Yeah, that's a great question. I would guess if I was building this, I would look at kind of what NFL does sometimes and go, all right, are we looking at just last year? Probably not, because you could have a coaching change. You could have a bunch of different things. We look at Arkansas. You would say, all right, Arkansas is one way. Or do you use a couple of years? I think that you would probably look at somewhere between a 5 to 10 year average of where is this program at? Because you guys know in college football, as much as you like to snap your fingers and go from 2 wins in conference to 8, that doesn't just happen overnight. It takes a couple of years. So I would imagine it's not projected because you can't really project what's going to happen. I think that they would probably take some type of formula of combining a 5-year average, a 10-year average, and say, this is kind of the state of where this university is at, and how does this match up with the traditional schedule? I think they'll probably keep the same 8 games, but to determine the other 2, I think they're going to do the best to try to balance it out so everybody is on an equal playing field.
Peter, I need you on the SEC network in front of like a lottery-style machine, almost like the World Cup. I need it. I need it to be spinning around. You grab it, you pull out the piece of paper, and you say Alabama's opponent is, and I need the drama of that.
I want Alyssa Lang at the network or Laura Rutledge. We'll have somebody come in, like do a Wheel of Fortune touch screen where they touch it and they're like, Alabama week 1 is playing, boom, there it goes. And then we react to it. I mean, I'll get the Bob Barker long skinny mic like they used to use back in the 70s and 80s. Like, let's get just cheesy and blow it out. Like, how big would that, like, as good as I thought the ratings would be when the ADs and presidents met, I still think that we'd probably do bigger numbers if we said, all right, you know what? It's just luck of the draw. We're throwing every single school in, no divisions. Let's just create a 10-game schedule. Now, obviously, it can't work that way, but holy hell, that would be great television.
Hey, real quick, because you just mentioned it, were you surprised that the SEC stayed with the divisions? Because I've long said you don't have them in basketball. In baseball, you have them, but it doesn't matter because the tournament is seeded depending on where you finish within the entire conference, not only your division. We saw the ACC get rid of the divisions. Were you surprised the SEC stayed with it?
No, because you're still trying to end up with an even amount of teams. You know, obviously you're talking about one game at the end of the season. Now, baseball and softball and basketball, they'll have a tournament, but you're looking at trying to keep this year looking somewhat similar to other years. I know baseball hasn't done that with the rules that they've changed, and NBA's looked at some things different. NHL has changed as well. But no, I wasn't surprised. I think they're trying to keep what football is consistently looked at in the SEC as much as possible within the realms of being able to do it safe throughout all this coronavirus scares.
Peter, we appreciate it. We'll be in touch. Batten down, and you guys be safe.
You got it, boys. Talk to y'all soon. Hopefully we're talking football next.
See you, PB.
We'll take a break. Be back with more Hanging with Hester and Hanny, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Hanging with Hester and Hanny.
Gotros Outdoor Power and our friends over at Skag still giving you that 60 months interest-free financing and a 5-year Power Plus warranty. You know, Skag, with their zero turns, best model on the market, all the way from the residential all the way up to your commercial units with free delivery. And they're simply the best program where they get a 15% discount for all of your first responders and medical personnel. Gotros Outdoor Power, you're helping with all of your property maintenance needs.
You got 2 locations locally, Airline at Industriaplex in Baton Rouge, Airline in 74 in Gonzales. Of course, you can always check out the website, GotrosOutdoorPower.com. So if you're listening to us up in North Louisiana, remember they will deliver your Skag to you. They're going to have a Skag that fits you as well, right? Residential, commercial. They're going to have both of those. They're going to have options for both. Not only if you're kind of in the in-between as well, they've got you covered over at Gotros. That's why it's Gotros. We make it easy.
Off the Bench, Hanging with Hester and Hanny. After further review and more are all live daily on the 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge YouTube page. Subscribe now to interact with us inside the live chat. Find highlights for each show's channel and get notified whenever we go live.
This isn't just another day. It's so much more. Kelly's life was put on hold when her auctioneer primary care doctor discovered a rare blood disorder. Her doctor connected her to an auctioneer care team of cancer, heart, and kidney specialists. With multiple primary care locations around Baton Rouge, same-day appointments, and online scheduling, we're relentless about keeping you healthy. Auctioneer Baton Rouge, innovating healthcare for Kelly.
Gulf Coast Bank and Trust is giving our customers the power to bank anywhere, anytime during this challenging event. And we're right there with you. Our mobile banking app is a smart way to manage your money and time. Gulf Coast Bank and Trust, the bank that cares about you.
posso offrire un caffè? Le posso offrire un caffè? Andiamo insieme da me, non c'è.
Call Mr. Electric today for electrical repairs, upgrades, and installations.
Are you a licensed contractor? There's lots of good contractors in Louisiana doing work the right way, but unfortunately, too many unlicensed contractors are working outside the licensing requirements. Working as a contractor in Louisiana requires a license for the company doing the work. The Louisiana State Licensing Board for Contractors wants to help you get licensed to allow you to conduct work legally. It's not difficult to get the license. We can help you. Go to lacontractor.org for more information. Licensed contractors, it's the law.
ServiceMaster Elite create clean, disinfected work environments. As a local business, we take pride in serving the New Orleans and Baton Rouge areas. Our cleaning protocols follow CDC and OSHA standards for healthcare settings, offices, senior living, restaurants, and industrial plants. Contact ServiceMaster Elite to get your operation ready for reopening with germ disinfection cleaning. ServiceMaster Elite, the trusted choice in professional cleaning since 1996.
To all of our heroes working on the front lines of this COVID-19 pandemic, your bravery and selflessness represent the very best of us, and we want to say thank you. I'm asking everyone around the state to join me in celebrating the heroism of our healthcare professionals on the 19th of every month at 1900 hours, that's 7 p.m. Write a note of appreciation, make plans to donate to charitable organizations, or say a prayer. To learn more, visit 19thanks.org. Thank you, and God bless.
Crime has serious consequences, but anyone can make a mistake. If you find yourself in trouble with the law, know that you have rights, and it's okay to demand them. The law offices of O.C. Brown are here to protect you and your rights. Felony or misdemeanor, DUI or drug charge. No matter what crime you're accused of, you still have rights. Let the law offices of O.C. Brown uphold them. Call 225-343-1111. Your law.
Join us on Monday night for Game Time with Jimmy Ott and Ben Mintz. We're live at Ruffino's on Highland Road as we recap the weekend in sports, including Pelicans versus Clippers. Tune in from 6 to 8 p.m. on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Hangin with Hester and Hanny on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge and 1130 The Tiger.
We're brought to you by Richard Sonda, home of the warm and fuzzy feeling. All right, so imagine you're in Mark Womack's chair here for a minute, and you've got to try to make this somewhat fair. Whenever I'm thinking about how to make things fair, an unbiased, unvarnished opinion without any kind of lean anyway, always do the same thing. Always go to Vegas.
Yeah.
Because they don't like or dislike anybody other. They like money. And so
I've heard that.
Always feel like, hey, listen, they may not be right on everything. Nobody is, but it's certainly not going to come from a point of any kind of bias towards one school or one team or everything. Yes, they react to public action, of course, but I'm talking about in the setting of lines. So if we take a look at the teams in the East, it's a very clear pecking order with only maybe really, I would say, one real big distinction, and that's between Georgia and Florida. Georgia and Florida are looked at in Vegas as virtually a wash.
Yep.
They are the co-choice to win this thing. They both have a total wins of 10, or did pre-pandemic anyway. And when that game goes, if it goes off in Jacksonville as it's supposed to, it's going to be inside of a field goal one way or the other, unless there's some major injury to a quarterback. Yep. So if you consider Georgia and Florida are the same, you can assign them a value. Okay, give them 7 points for being in first, or 1 or whatever,
right.
However you want to do it. And then I think the third place team in the East is very, very easy as well. I think that's Tennessee. Now, Kentucky's win total is only a half a game less than Tennessee's, but
you can flip flop those two. I think
okay.
Either way, anybody you talk to, those would probably be the two teams in the third spot.
I watched Tennessee at the end of last year, and I felt like that was a program that was getting better. I know it's a team that's got more budget. I just feel like they were ascending, and I would give them the nod
You
over
obviously
Kentucky.
haven't listened to the show before you hopped on. I am the biggest Kentucky supporter in Baton Rouge.
Okay, but it's close. Tennessee's win total is 7.5, and Kentucky is 7.
Those,
right?
those two teams are very much, I think, the same, and you could flip flop them. But I think more people would agree with you that Tennessee is number 3 there.
And there is a drop off to South Carolina at number 5, Missouri at number 6, and Vanderbilt at 7. If you just assign a value to each one of these, let's say you gave each Georgia and Florida each 7 points. You gave Tennessee and Kentucky each 5 points. You gave USC 4, Missouri 3, and Vanderbilt 1 or 2. And then after that, it's just total up the points. I don't know that anybody could sit here and willfully argue, well, South Carolina is better than Florida, or South Carolina is better than Georgia, or that Kentucky is better than Georgia. The top 2 teams over there are. I think it's much more difficult to sort out the West. I think once you get past LSU and Alabama, I think the difference between Ole Miss, Mississippi State, Texas A&M, I think I would have Auburn a little bit ahead of those guys, but that next group, I think it's harder to sort that group out. And then Arkansas is at the bottom. But those middle teams, I think, are harder to sort out. In the East, I think it's fairly. If you're going to go on a strength of schedule, which again, you can't just go off of last year. I don't think. Otherwise, you're going to match up the ones with the ones.
You do like the NFL, you match up 1-1, 2-2.
And if you're going to do that, then LSU's going to get Georgia.
Yep.
And Alabama's going to get Florida, and let the complaining commence from that point. So if you're going to try to balance it, give each team a value and go from there.
If you try to do that, that model, it works if you want to go 1-1, 2-2, 3-3, whatever that might be, where you finished last year. But you're still going to have people all over the place that are complaining with that model. I think if you did the next 2 rotating opponents and that was the same for everybody, do some teams have tougher schedules? Yeah, Florida, hey, you got it tougher. You got to play LSU. You have to play Texas A&M. You have to play Alabama. Well, LSU does that all the time, right?
Yeah.
I mean, look at LSU's 2018 schedule. Right?
Sure.
You got Georgia, you got Florida, and you got the West. Hey, this is the SEC. Sometimes it happens that way. And some years you're going to get Arkansas as your other opponent in the West. But you know what? This one hurts. I'm sorry.
It's just not very often that Alabama's going to have to play Georgia and Florida out of the East. I mean, I know everybody pointed to Florida's schedule. I pointed to Alabama's. As soon they have Georgia already slotted in. And part of the problem with going 1-1, 2-2 is some of those matchups are already in place with your opponents that were in place before the pandemic, and some of them aren't. So, again, I'm assigning everybody in the East a value.
Right.
And then I'm going to try, and I'm going to take what they've already got to play, and then I'm going to put that, alongside of what you're going to add to their schedule. And the totals need to get pretty close. The challenge, like I said, becomes in the West. Is there a difference between Auburn and Texas A&M, Ole Miss and Mississippi State? Well, it's closer. Okay, everybody can say for sure that that Alabama and LSU are at the top.
God, in this model, I'd have to sit there and watch Arkansas and Vanderbilt.
But let me tell you, but pre-pandemic, Texas A&M had a higher win total than LSU. This is where the philosophy breaks down a little bit. Why did they have it? Well, look at their schedule. Mm-hmm. They traded that blockbuster of a schedule last year that they had, and they added it to, and they swapped it out. They swapped out Clemson for Colorado. Yeah. Okay, we can understand the differences there. Okay, they swapped out at Georgia. So this win total is based on a schedule that no longer exists. That's where you have to look a little bit deeper with a team like Texas A&M. I don't think Texas A&M is better than Auburn, but the pre-pandemic totals. Now we're going to see these things adjusted now that we know that they're going to play 10 conference games, but we're going to see these things adjust for A&M down. They don't get to play 4 layup games. They don't get to play Colorado anymore. Texas A&M's win total is probably going to be, if I had to guess, depending on who they draw, probably going to be 7.
Yeah, a lot of people were on the Texas A&M train early, and I was never on board because I still need to see so much more growth from their quarterback. I still need to see them have a running back that was consistent over the whole year. You know, all those questions that we asked. But because of who they had on their schedule, you're exactly right, Hanny. It was like, okay, well, until they get to the end of their schedule. Now, the end of the schedule, they were going to have Alabama and LSU, and that part of it was going to be brutal. A lot of people, are they going to be undefeated? I still thought they'd have a slip-up there before, but I thought, one loss going into those games, and then you end up losing 3 games for the season. But now you're talking about adding 2 more games, and that's a completely different, talking point for Texas A&M when you add any tough game in there.
I don't know if they were going to be undefeated going into Week 11, but I'm pretty sure they were going to be favored in 10 games leading into Week 11. Maybe at State, but I still think they probably would have been a slight favorite.
They had at South Carolina, they had at Auburn, and they have at Mississippi State. That was going to be.
Was it at Auburn? I thought that all. That's right.
Yeah,
they would. I'm sorry. They would have been an underdog at Auburn.
So one of those
that's
three
what I was thinking of.
One of those 3 games to me was going to be a loss, and I didn't. Right.
And they would have been an underdog at Auburn.
By the way, they for some reason Arkansas gives them fits, but now that game's going to be moved to College Station and not be played in Dallas. But yeah, so out of those 3 games, I thought they'd get a loss, but now you're talking about adding 2 more difficult games. You can talk about 5 losses potentially.
This is where strength of schedule for the West gets tough. Because if you're going to use a Vegas indicator, you have to wait for the next one because the old one counted all of these non-conference games. And their non-conference games, the toughest one was Colorado. They had a game, I think, with Abilene Christian.
Yep,
and,
that was an opener, yeah.
Yeah, and so, Abilene they were going to win that game by 60 points. They played, I think, North Texas. They were going to win that game by 40 points. So there was no Clemson on this year's schedule.
We talked about Fresno State a lot last week. They had the Bulldogs as well.
They were going to win that game. Trust me when I tell you they were going to win that game.
Hey, North Texas, the Mean Green, they're salty. They went up to Fayetteville and put a whipping on them a couple of years ago.
They were going to win that game too.
Okay.
Senior quarterback. That was one of the schedule plus senior quarterback was why they were getting some love. But all of that has changed. That schedule has the senior quarterback's still there, but the schedule has drastically changed. Take a break. Hanging with Hester and Hanny, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Hangin' with Hester and Hanny. Our listeners fire off their opinions on the jimsfirearms.net hotline at 499-1045. Keep listening for your next chance to shoot us your thoughts with the jimsfirearms.net hotline on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
I'm Jay Ducote. I grew up learning how to cook at LSU tailgate parties and right in my own backyard. And I created JD's Louisiana products to bring that Louisiana flavor to you at home for your backyard cookout. JD's Louisiana barbecue sauce, Louisiana molasses mustard, spicy and sweet barbecue rub, and more are available at your local supermarkets or by logging on to jducote.com/shop. Put in promo code CST for 25% off at checkout.
This is a house call. This is a follow-up appointment. This is a diabetes checkup. This isn't just more convenient care, it's more advanced care. This is innovating healthcare at Louisiana's #1 hospital, Auctioner.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals, but many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
At All-Star Toyota, you get it all. If you're in the market for an all-new Toyota vehicle, come see our friendly and knowledgeable sales team at All-Star Toyota. Located in Baton Rouge at the corner of Airline and Goodwood, we've been serving our community since 2005 by offering a large selection of new Toyota cars, trucks, and SUVs. Get behind the wheel of your dream car and take a test drive at All-Star Toyota today.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets, from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology, from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's 756-2644 for Gulf Coast Office Products.
ServiceMaster Elite create clean, disinfected work environments. As a local business, we take pride in serving the New Orleans and Baton Rouge areas. Our cleaning protocols follow CDC and OSHA standards for healthcare settings, offices, senior living, restaurants, and industrial plants. Contact ServiceMaster Elite to get your operation ready for reopening with germ disinfection cleaning. ServiceMaster Elite, the trusted choice in professional cleaning since 1996.
Are you a licensed contractor? There's lots of good contractors in Louisiana doing work the right way, but unfortunately, too many unlicensed contractors are working outside the licensing requirements. Working as a contractor in Louisiana requires a license for the company doing the work. The Louisiana State Licensing Board for Contractors wants to help you get licensed to allow you to conduct work legally. It's not difficult to get the license. We can help you. Go to lacontractor.org for more information. Licensed contractors, it's the law.
Do you know the proper way to prevent the spread of COVID-19 in your office? We do. We're Janny King, a leader in the cleaning industry for over 30 years, and we've developed comprehensive programs to address proper cleaning and disinfection. We have experience in applying disinfecting programs in hospitals, office buildings, schools, and other venues. Now we're ready to help and able to assist customers that need disinfecting services.
Janny King, the king of clean.
Coming up on Tuesdays Off the Bench, Coach O tells us how they'll use the extended offseason to get ready for Game 1. The Pelicans managed to keep their playoff hopes alive, and a brand new OTB mailbag. Off the Bench, 7 to 10 a.m., 104.5 ESPN.
Hangin with Hester and Hanny on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge and 1130 The Tiger.
Bayou Ford Huddle. This was an anonymous user that gave it says the fairest way to do the schedule is to bump you next to opponents from the other division. That way there's nothing subjective involved. Nobody can have an argument for or against who they're playing. I don't disagree, but when that schedule for Florida came out, my guess is that somebody in the league office looked at it and said, this is one of our teams. If it had happened to Missouri, this is just me, this is just my opinion. If it would have happened to Missouri, who cares? If it happens to South Carolina, who cares? It happened to Florida. The league thinks that Florida is a playoff contender, and they're not wrong. That's a top 10 team preseason, and if things fall right for them, they could get in. And they're not going to do that to one of their marquee teams. Am I wrong?
I hear what you're saying, and you've got a valid point. But when you look at just completely restarting, and you and I are talking about it during the break, and maybe we'll get to it in more detail later. But with the current model, if you take away Fresno State from Texas A&M schedule, they have 3 straight road games within the SEC. If you keep it in the same order right now, so that almost makes you believe that they're going to look at something like that and say, you know what, we've got to start over. We're not going to have the same order, at least not for every team that we have.
With a 10-game schedule, there is less amount of room for a team with a loss to get in than there ever has been since we started the playoff. And if they make Alabama and Florida, 2 top 10 teams, play in a year where they weren't scheduled to play, one of them, by definition, is going to have to lose. It's going to give the SEC that much less of a chance. Arkansas is not going to the playoff no matter how many games they play in a row on the road or at home.
No, they're not even their state champions in Arkansas. I'm taking Central Arkansas right now. But in all seriousness, the playoff committee is going to – I mean, they could look at an 8-2 SEC team, though, in a 10-game schedule. And then if they get that 9th win in the championship game, a 9-2 SEC squad can easily make the playoff. And, as a former 2-loss national champion, I'd like to have somebody else in this group.
You've got less games to play with now. 2 losses is a hard sell in a 12-game season, much less in a 10. I can't see it. No.
The playoff committee would absolutely take a long look at an SEC with a 10-game especially if it was a team like Florida, with the losses being LSU and Bama or something.
If you had undefeated teams out of the other Power Fives, I don't think so.
Who cares about the
not
other Power
not
Fives?
undefeated against a 2-loss team.
Other Power Fives can go fly kite.
Don't see it. Take a break. Back on the other side. Hanging with Hester and Hanny, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Hangin' with Hester and Hanny.
This isn't just another day. It's so much more. Kelly's life was put on hold when her auctioneer primary care doctor discovered a rare blood disorder. Her doctor connected her to an auctioneer care team of cancer, heart, and kidney specialists. With multiple primary care locations around Baton Rouge, same-day appointments, and online scheduling, we're relentless about keeping you healthy. Auctioneer Baton Rouge, innovating healthcare for Kelly.
When you want the best of Louisiana, you don't go to a superstore. We know what we like, and we like it local. Same goes for banking. As one of Louisiana's largest local banks, we offer homegrown services crafted around you. Gulf Coast Bank, the bank that cares about you.
To all of our heroes working on the front lines of this COVID-19 pandemic, your bravery and selflessness represent the very best of us, and we want to say thank you. I'm asking everyone around the state to join me in celebrating the heroism of our healthcare professionals on the 19th of every month at 1900 hours, that's 7 p.m. Write a note of appreciation, make plans to donate to charitable organizations, or say a prayer. To learn more, visit 19thanks.org. Thank you, and God bless.
At All-Star Toyota, you get it all. If you're in the market for an all-new Toyota vehicle, come see our friendly and knowledgeable sales team at All-Star Toyota. Located in Baton Rouge at the corner of Airline and Goodwood, we've been serving our community since 2005 by offering a large selection of new Toyota cars, trucks, and SUVs. Get behind the wheel of your dream car and take a test drive at All-Star Toyota today.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals, but many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
Crime has serious consequences, but anyone can make a mistake. If you find yourself in trouble with the law, know that you have rights, and it's okay to demand them. The law offices of O.C. Brown are here to protect you and your rights. Felony or misdemeanor, DUI or drug charge. No matter what crime you're accused of, you still have rights. Let the law offices of O.C. Brown uphold them. Call 225-343-1111. Your law firm for a lifetime.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets, from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology, from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's 756-2644 for Gulf Coast Office Products.
Here at the Big Squeezy, we continue to serve the Baton Rouge and Southeast Louisiana areas during these troubling times. We are dedicated to providing you healthy food items to help you live your best life. From our cold-pressed juices to our delicious smoothies, let the Big Squeezy keep you going. Stay active, stay happy, and let us help you stay healthy. Visit us at our locations and also inside of Alexander's and Mathern's grocery stores or online at thebigsqueezy.com.
Hangin' with Hester and Hanny on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge and 1130 The Tiger.
Welcome into hour number 2, hanging with Hester and Hanny, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge, 11:30 the Tiger in Shreveport and the surrounding areas. If you watch it on CST or on YouTube, the 104.5 ESPN page, you can also go back and get some of our archived interviews on the Hangin page with Peter Burns in hour number 1, Laura Rutledge and Cole Cubelic both in hour number 3 that will be with us today. That pacing that you hear in the background is T-Bob Hebert. He has been nervous. Despite Musso was there this morning. I mean, I know T-Bob pretty well, so I kind of think I know just listening to him on the radio this morning. But Musso, you were actually in the building, in the studio. So how's he taking it, man?
Hanny, he was pretty despondent early on. Once hour 2 hit, he was trying to convince everybody who would listen that they're going to make the 8 seed still. So
T-Bob,
they're going to go 6-0 and
I love it.
I don't know how much of an impact for Game 2 that Brandon Ingram missing the shot at the end of Game 1 was. It was the ultimate buzzkill, I guess, if you thought that they could get a game. The 2 games at the beginning were going to be their toughest games as far as records go. And they had a shot in the air and a shot that almost went down. I mean, looked pretty good. Had a really good chance to go down. They win that game, and then they go in, okay, you lose the Clippers. The Clippers have decided that they're going to play Kawhi Leonard and Paul George, which is a little bit of a surprise to me. Kawhi doesn't like to play but once a week in the regular season. But now for the restart, all of a sudden, he's an Iron Man. The morale, I guess is the word I'll use, getting into that second game, they came out and got played off their feet from the opening tip on Saturday, and they were down 32 points at the half. You got to try to be down 32 points at the half.
You have to try to be outscored in the first quarter by 12, in the second quarter by 20 points. I mean, that is something that you have to play your worst basketball. And I think this is so deflating for Pelicans fans because everything leading up to it went so well. You're talking about 5-0 between the scrimmages and the exhibition, right? You're talking about 5-0 and looked good and played against. When you played the Bucks, you saw the Greek
Giannis
Freak,
played,
all right. I mean, you saw him in action.
Middleton played,
and you looked like a team that was going to not only compete for that 8th spot, but once they got into the playoffs, probably going to make some noise. And then you mentioned it, and then the game against Utah were really, gosh, you're just up, and you were the dominant, force in that game, and they were the counterpuncher, and all of a sudden they made a comeback, and then you still had a chance at the end, and then once that shot didn't go in, you could tell how much that hurt the Pelicans. But still, Saturdays, it wasn't even necessarily. I don't think it wasn't an effort deal. It just looked like they were outclassed.
Well, the Clippers are a much better team. I'm not going to argue that point. And Paul George is a star, is a superstar in the league.
Well, they have 2 superstars, yeah.
He makes 8 threes. All right. Well, Paul George can do that. It's not like somebody came in off the street and dumped 8 threes on you. It's Paul George. Okay, I get it. But the disappointing thing to me was the carelessness with the basketball, and the turnovers, in my opinion, are by far I know that they made 114 threes the other night, actually 25 out of 47. But the turnovers, the Pelicans lead the league in points allowed off of turnovers.
Yep.
They turned it over 20 times against the Jazz. They turned it over 18 times against the Clippers. And if you take that 20 against the Jazz and you just cut 4, okay, cut 20% off of it, you probably win the game. And this doesn't have a thing to do with Zion, who was supposed to play a little bit more the other night, and Alvin Gentry decided that when they got into the fourth quarter and they were down 37, that maybe this is not the best spot to get him some time in. We wanted the Pelicans to play some meaningful basketball at the end of the season. And this 8-game sprint, unusual, unique as it is meaningful basketball. And they have fallen flat on their face so far. Let's just call it what it is. You played a close game where your mistakes made more of a difference than the play of the other team. I firmly believe that. Now, not Saturday, the first game. The 20 turnovers, the fact you did more to hurt yourself than the Jazz did to hurt you.
Right.
The Clippers completely blew you out of the building. But if they had won the game, if Ingram's shot goes down and this game Saturday happens exactly the same way, you just say, you know what? Pelicans aren't ready for prime time. They're not ready to be one of the top 2 seeds in the West.
Right.
We knew that.
Yeah.
We're trying to get them to be the 8 seed or even the 9 seed in the West. And we certainly think that they're capable of that. All evidence to the contrary here in these last 2 games.
And if that shot goes down, even if you lose like you did on Saturday, but then on Sunday the Celtics beat the Trailblazers, the Spurs beat the Grizzlies, then you almost forget about it.
The Spurs are going to make the damn playoffs, you know that? Again.
Pop's going to find a way to get them in there. But then you'd feel better about that situation. But I mean, still Saturday's loss hurt because of the shot not going down, and now there's just no room for error. And I love T-Bob's optimism that they can still get into the postseason. I hope they do. I hope I'm completely wrong. But that team we saw on Saturday, and when we saw the look on their most veteran player, J.J. Redick's face, it's hard to believe that they can come back from that.
They're not going to make the playoffs. They're not going to reel off 6 straight. They're not disciplined enough to
hear
do
that, T-Bob? Ye of little faith.
No, they're not.
Annie.
I'm sorry. But I'll tell you what I do want is I want them to win this game today, because if they don't win this game today, then there will be nothing on the line in the last 5 games, and it's counterproductive to everything that they wanted from the beginning, which is to play competitive basketball in a playoff type setting. And if they lose today, it's over. It's not even – just keep it mathematically possible. So when you play Sacramento and you play Washington, there will be a built-in reason to mail it in if they lose tonight.
You'll see a ton of Jackson Hayes and guys like that if they don't win this game today.
It will be a countdown to leaving the bubble.
Yes.
Because they're going to be ready to go home at that point. It's going to be like, well, we came here. Ingram's shot goes down. Maybe it's a little bit different, but the Spurs have passed us. The Kings have caught us. And if we lose tonight, that's it. And so you play 5 meaningless games. And I don't even know how much Zion would play in those games. So I want to keep hope alive, even though I think the chances of them running out 6 straight wins is remote. I don't think they're good enough to do that. I don't think they're disciplined enough to do that.
I'm about to get on T-Bob's side here, Hanny.
But, well,
my
tell me I'm wrong if they lose today.
You're
going to see maximum effort when they play the Kings on
today's
Thursday.
Game is gigantic. Now, if you can get a win against a team that has that playoff spot, who knows what can happen. We did mention that these were their 2 toughest games out of the gate. That's why Thursday's game was so important for them to be able to come out of that game with Utah with a win. They didn't. Now, again, no room for error, but today's game is the biggest must-win in recent memory for the Pelicans.
Now, for the Grizzlies, they come out and they lose their first 2 games, and all of a sudden, here come the Spurs.
Yep.
Of all teams, the Spurs. With DeMar DeRozan and 16 guys you never heard of. But here come the Spurs, and if they lose, if the Grizzlies lose tonight, then all of a sudden – they're still the favorites to be the 8 seed. And if they're not going to be the 8 seed, they would really have to collapse to be the 9 seed. But get out of the gate 0-3, and here comes San Antonio.
Yeah.
You're starting to have some nervous moments. So I do think that this will be, I hope, playoff basketball intensity at 5:30 today.
You just
between the
hate
Pels
on,
and the Grizz.
On Patty Mills and Rudy Gay like they don't play for the Spurs.
They're not starting.
Just saying, man.
I read the 5 starters this morning for San Antonio in their game yesterday, and it was DeMar DeRozan and 4 guys that I would imagine that most of the basketball fans out there are not familiar with.
I think that's fair.
That's just, well, you tell me, okay? I'm gonna read it because when I was reading box scores this morning. All right. So DeMar DeRozan started the game. DeJounte Murray, where's he from? I didn't know. I had to look it up.
Yeah.
He's from Washington. He went to Washington. Lonnie Walker the 4th.
Oh, the 4th. I know the 3rd. I don't know the 4th.
Oh, right,
though.
exactly. Lonnie Walker the 4th. He started at
Playboy Marty says from the U.
He is. He is
Okay.
from you. He's looking it up along with me.
I'm not.
Derek White, out of that basketball
Colorado.
basketball juggernaut at Colorado.
I'm watching the YouTube chat, so you can tell I'm not cheating.
Okay, right.
Who else we got? We got to have one more starter.
And the last starter was the foreign guy, Jacob Politales. I
Utah?
think.
Big man from Utah.
Yeah.
Went to the Raptors.
This is a man
in
that
the first round.
This is
back
a
in the
man that
day.
spends his Sunday night betting on Pac-12 basketball. That's what this is.
No, this is
that's what this is.
Well,
okay? It's the last game on Sunday nights. That's what this is.
You got to make up for the week, and it's also staying up watching a little West Coast Conference basketball. You know, I'm a Gonzaga fan, so yeah, I might flip over and glaze at the Pac-12 contest.
So you knew him. I'm impressed. I
didn't know two of them.
I wouldn't have done that well. And yes, I know who Rudy Gay and Patty Mills are.
Patty Mills, West Coast Conference.
You know, those guys come off the bench in the airport. But anyway, it's San Antonio, which is doing what San Antonio does. Okay?
And in
they
this
make the playoffs.
And in this situation, with it being so unique and nobody really ever, going through this, there was going to be a premium on coaches. And they have one of the best coaching staffs, not only Pop, but coaching staffs in all the NBA. And that's why you see the Raptors. I believe the Raptors have one of the best coaching staffs in all of the NBA. And you can tell
Nick
in this
Nurse
situation, you can tell that they were ready for this situation. They were prepared for how difficult it was going to be. And, that's showing right now. Now, I can't wait to see once we get into the playoffs, which cream rises to the top, because it's going to be different than any of these players have ever had before. And that extra little after a timeout or whatever the situation might be, right? Well, coaching is going to show more, I think, now in this situation than ever before, because you have your players all together with you, right?
Yeah.
If there's something you want to work on, there's something you want to communicate. They're not spread out across the city or spread out here and there. You're all in this bubble, so you're getting extra coaching time as well.
And I'm surprised. I'm genuinely surprised that through the first weekend that we are seeing the Stars play. I really did think that with no home court advantage to speak of, everybody's in the same bubble, and most of the playoff spots already decided, that the Stars would take as much time as they needed to ramp up, that they had 8 games, that the first few games, if they were between playoff teams, then you would have seen the Stars taking time off. Did you watch any of Bucks Rockets yesterday? It didn't look like they're taking any time off to me, and both of those teams are in the playoffs. Giannis played 33 minutes yesterday. It's right on his season average. Middleton played 34 minutes. It's right on his season average. They're not taking anything.
Middleton's such a good player. So underappreciated for who he is, by the way.
I thought they would really treat the first 3 or 4 games like exhibition. The playoff teams. That they would treat the first 3 or 4 like exhibitions, and they would ramp up in the last 3 or 4 and get themselves ready for the playoffs. No, they're playing. Now, they're not playing a lot of defense. You may have noticed the scores are through the ceiling. Vegas has adjusted, by the way.
Yeah,
it took them a day. They got pounded on Friday on overs. It took them the most overs in a row in Playboy Marty. Help me out. 7 years? 7 years, yeah. Most consecutive
Playboy Marty here. It's like we
overs.
got a little piece of Jimmy Ott's game time.
And if we could get him to show up more than 1 or 2 days a week, it'd be great.
Well,
right?
that's asking a lot. When a guy's nickname's Playboy.
But Vegas adjusted in a hurry. You're seeing totals in the 220s and even 230s.
Yeah, we've actually got a game going on right now. Raptors and Heat, 27-26 in the second quarter. That's a hell of a matchup, too.
That is that's a much better matchup.
And I know we're long for a break, but real quick, I mean, I mentioned the Raptors. They're 47-18, and nobody's talking about them. And I realize Kawhi Leonard doesn't play for them anymore, but they still got a lot of talent on that roster. And we mentioned their coaching staff. That's the defending world champion. And have you heard any talking head talk about the Raptors being a contender?
A little bit since they got back, only because you looked at when I just said nobody's playing defense. They're playing defense. They're playing defense, and they play a swarming team defense. Listen, they don't have Kawhi Leonard anymore. Right. That's why nobody's taking them seriously. That's why nobody considered them a strong contender. They feel like you take Kawhi Leonard off the Raptors, and they're no longer the defending champs.
Right.
Well, there's something to that. Leonard's one of the best 4 or 5 players in the league, but they play defense like probably as good as anybody in the league, and that's why they're hard to beat. And Nick Nurse is a very good coach that 2 years ago nobody had ever heard of, but he's done a great job up there. Anyway, Grizz and Pelicans at 5:30 on ESPN. Take a break here, hanging with Hester and Hanny, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Hangin' with Hester and Hanny. In times of need, get a full list of phone numbers, websites, and other important emergency information on the Demco Stormwatch page at 1045ESPN.com.
Are you a licensed contractor? There's lots of good contractors in Louisiana doing work the right way, but unfortunately, too many unlicensed contractors are working outside the licensing requirements. Working as a contractor in Louisiana requires a license for the company doing the work. The Louisiana State Licensing Board for Contractors wants to help you get licensed to allow you to conduct work legally. It's not difficult to get the license. We can help you. Go to lacontractor.org for more information. Licensed contractors, it's the law.
This is a house call. This is a test result. This is a prescription refill. This isn't just more convenient care, it's more advanced care. This is innovating healthcare. Start your virtual visit today at Auctioner Health.
If I built a van, it would do more than haul.
It would carry my entire business. I'd make it available in dozens. Make that thousands of configurations.
It would keep an eye on my fleet.
And an eye out for danger.
If I built a van, I'd make it available in diesel and gas. And I'd build it right here in South Carolina.
Introducing the all-new Sprinter, starting at $33,790. Built in the USA. Mercedes-Benz. Vans. Born to run.
ServiceMaster Elite create clean, disinfected work environments. As a local business, we take pride in serving the New Orleans and Baton Rouge areas. Our cleaning protocols follow CDC and OSHA standards for healthcare settings, offices, senior living, restaurants, and industrial plants. Contact ServiceMaster Elite to get your operation ready for reopening with germ disinfection cleaning. ServiceMaster Elite, the trusted choice in professional cleaning since 1996.
To all of our heroes working on the front lines of this COVID-19 pandemic, your bravery and selflessness represent the very best of us, and we want to say thank you. I'm asking everyone around the state to join me in celebrating the heroism of our healthcare professionals on the 19th of every month at 1900 hours, that's 7 p.m. Write a note of appreciation, make plans to donate to charitable organizations, or say a prayer. To learn more, visit 19thanks.org. Thank you, and God bless.
Crime has serious consequences, but anyone can make a mistake. If you find yourself in trouble with the law, know that you have rights, and it's okay to demand them. The law offices of O.C. Brown are here to protect you and your rights. Felony or misdemeanor, DUI or drug charge. No matter what crime you're accused of, you still have rights. Let the law offices of O.C. Brown uphold them. Call 225-343-1111. Your law firm for a lifetime.
Here at Corval Toyota, we don't just sell cars, we buy them too. Bring your car in so we can see it, and within minutes, you can turn your car into cash or trade it in towards your next vehicle. It's a fast and easy process. We buy your car at...
Hey, it's Matt Moscona inviting you to join us for Monday's AFR. Presented by Relief Windows, the Saints Open Training Camp. All the storylines, we'll have them for you on Monday's AFR. Join us 3 to 6, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Hangin with Hester and Hanny on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge and 1130 The Tiger.
It was a good weekend over at the house. You know, yesterday was one of those days, just watch a whole lot of sports, and the wife says, hey, look, shrimp etouffee time. Shrimp etouffee is one of my favorites, and she does a really good job.
You didn't even have
with
to
it.
get up?
No, she did the whole thing. It was fantastic, and of course we're using Supreme rice, the best complement to any meal. She's making shrimp etouffee, she's making crawfish etouffee. If we're making red beans and rice, it's going to be with Supreme rice. Pick up a bag of locally grown Supreme rice today and support Louisiana farmers, because Supreme rice is grown, milled, processed right here in South Louisiana. It's delicious, whether it's the long grain, the brown rice, the jasmine rice. You're going to enjoy Supreme rice. It's easy to get and also makes your food dollar stretch a little bit further. So pick it up today at your Costco's, at your Rouse's, at your Walmarts, and at all AG food stores for great recipes like the one for shrimp etouffee that we used over at our house. And for more information, you can go to the website at supremerice.com. Right there out of Crowley, Louisiana. So Caleb Farley is a cornerback for Virginia Tech. He is a fourth-year player, or was going into his fourth year, and he is looked at as a first-round pick in next year's NFL draft. And this weekend, he became I would say the highest profile player, the highest rated player, the best player so far to opt out, calling it the most difficult decision of his life. He had looked back to his mother's passing. His mother had breast cancer, and she passed away 2 years ago. And he cited his relationship with his father, that if he had contacted the disease and passed it along to his father, that if that had affected him, and God forbid had taken his life, that he said, I couldn't have lived with that. He went in, he told Justin Fuente that it was a very difficult decision. He said Fuente gave him the arguments against, tried to talk him out of it, and then said, okay, this is your decision. We respect it. We're going to let you go ahead and do this. And he's going to work out there and try to get ready for next year's NFL draft. I don't know how many players are with a first-round grade are going to follow him, Jacob, but this was one of the things we talked about at the beginning of the pandemic. The Pac-12 aside, because they've got a coalition, which is a lot of players that they're talking about player rights. It's not really about just COVID.
Right.
This is a COVID-driven decision. So if you had to guess, how will teams view this when they evaluate Caleb Farley?
It's a great question, and because of his status in next year's NFL draft, it's going to be one that's talked about for a long time. But it's not like he didn't sit out, so he didn't get injured as far as on the field. And we've seen guys do that in bowl games. Of course, Leonard did it here at LSU. Christian McCaffrey did. I mean, we can go on. There's a list of guys that have sat out bowl games. It didn't affect those guys, and that was just to preserve their health. And NFL teams didn't look at that any different. Those guys are both first-round picks, right? And there's been numerous first-round picks who have done that. So I don't think NFL teams are going to look at this, and have a negative mark against him. Now, they'll have questions about, you haven't played football in a year. That's going to be a question. And anytime you miss on-the-field action, it's difficult. And I can only tell you from my experience, I was in training camp in 2013, and then I got released by Denver. And I continued to work out on my own. But when I went to mini camp with the Saints in 2014, so it had been September to May, so not a full calendar year, it was different.
What did you lose?
It was different.
Because you were still in shape. What did you lose?
You lose the decision-making on the fly. You lose some of the little small pieces of information that normally you just walk up and right? And you might be a half second late in recognizing something. And in the pro game, that's doomsday. And it took me until, even at the end of the camp, I was like, man, I forgot how much, what I've really missed. And even catching the football from pro quarterbacks and not catching it from the guy that you were throwing with. I mean, there's so many different things. And, running the football and having a feel for that backside cut on a zone. Well, you're a half second late in the NFL, it's going to be closed. And so there's a lot of things that, even though I was running every day, I was running stadiums, pulling sleds, doing everything that we see, guys do. But unless you're out there, and there's a reason why you have spring football. There's a reason why you have football school. There's a reason why you have training camp, because you never want to lose the on-the-field activities with your team. And so that's going to be probably the bigger question in this case.
I think it's so much tougher to evaluate this situation as opposed to other situations, because a player that sits out an entire season is almost always injured. We have very, very few instances where a player has sat out a year voluntarily for any other reason. There's a couple. One I can think of is the BYU players that go on Mormon missions, but they come back to the college game. Even Taysom Hill, who has become an excellent NFL player, came back after 2 years off to the college game. They don't take the 2 years off and go into the NFL. So I'm left with Maurice Clarett.
And Taysom Hill had a ton of injuries.
He did.
Yeah.
So I'm left with Maurice Clarett and Mike Williams, who were both very highly thought of players. Williams ended up, a wide receiver at USC, ended up being a first-round pick. In fact, he was the 10th pick in the draft by Detroit. Clarett, because he had had numerous other off-the-field problems, slipped into the third round with the Denver Broncos. Clarett was a fantastic college football player. He was the best player on Ohio State's national championship team. But when he got to Denver, it was over. He was nowhere near. In fact, he didn't make the team.
Right.
He didn't even make the team. And had he had,
there were stories about how out of shape he was too.
Right.
Yeah.
If he had a perfect record off the field, he still might not have made the team. That's how far he had gone.
Yep.
Williams was the same thing. Williams was a big, thick wide receiver. He reminded me a lot of David Boston, if you remember.
Oh, yeah.
And Boston was
biggest arms on a receiver
was
I've
a
ever seen.
Monster. Williams wasn't quite as big as Boston, but he was a big guy. And when he got back to Detroit, he couldn't run. I mean, he had put on some weight. He didn't look, just to look at him, he didn't look like, oh, wow, he's out of shape. But he couldn't run anymore. It was done. And that was a guy that they had looked at and said, he is a first-round top 10 pick, and he sat out a year. I'm not suggesting that either one of those things is going to happen with Caleb Farley. He may be able to work out, keep himself in great shape. He is looked at as a first-round pick and may still be one. But aren't you going to at least ask the question if you're an NFL front office?
Yeah, and it's hard not to be around a team and have that structure and be within an organization, because even if you're not on the field, because I'm sure someone's going to say, well, what about a guy that's been injured? He hadn't been on the football field in a year either. But when you're in the building, you're in every single meeting. And so you're seeing all the adjustments. You're, at least mentally, you're getting that work. If you're away from it, it's very difficult to get that work. Now, the technology now, it can help you in the fact that you can have an iPad and you can go over things, but what are you watching? You're watching games from last year. You're not growing as a player. You're not watching, up-to-date information and what the new, because as we know, college football, pro football, there's always something. There's always something new. Every single season there's going to be a wrinkle that becomes one that everybody tries to copycat, right? And so you miss out on things like that. So mentally, just as much as physically, it's very difficult to not be on a team within an organization for a full year.
We'll see if any other players of this caliber follow Farley's lead here. One of the things he did address was the option that he had to go into the season and opt out later. In other words, if there had been an outbreak at Virginia Tech, if they had some other circumstances that would have caused him to opt out later. He said he didn't want to do that to his team, and I respect that he didn't want to leave them in a bind. If he had taken all of the first team reps and had been a leader and all that stuff, and at the end of September had said, hey, you know what, we're 2-2, I'm out. End of September, sorry, force a habit, end of October.
Right.
That he had said no. He is giving them advance notice. Listen, here are my concerns. Everybody was working out in the building. They were in close quarters. They weren't wearing masks. He was nervous that he was going to get his father sick, and he said, I'm out. Okay. We'll see if anybody follows him.
This is a great question from Chris inside the Bayou Ford huddle, talking about, not playing football for a little bit and kind of losing a step here and there. He said, how do power forwards transform to tight ends with little football experience? Well, in most cases, they were high-level football players. I'll take a guy that I played with, the best guy who Tony Gonzalez or Antonio Gates as far as guys to play basketball, even though Gonzalez played football in college, Antonio Gates did not. Antonio Gates, by the way, was a big-time high school football recruit. In fact, he was committed – I believe he signed with Nick Saban in Michigan State and then decided to play basketball at Kent State. But so Gatesy, what he did is he was so good running his routes because he used his body to basically box out the defender. Now, here's the other part of that, too. Even though Gates is a Hall of Famer and one of the most athletic people I've ever seen, that's a position where you can do things like that. We've seen Jimmy Graham do that, but it's very hard to be the complete tight end. That's why teams that have the basketball guy playing tight end, their second tight end is a guy that can do it all. He's a guy that has to clean up what the other tight end can't. Now, you'll take what the number one Antonio Gates, Jimmy Graham during the Saints tenure, you'll take what they can do, but you also have to have another tight end that can back them up. That's why Randy McMichael was our Mr. Fix-It when we were in San Diego, because Gates wasn't going to put his hand in the dirt and be a wide tight end. It's just not what he was. He hadn't done it since he was in high school. He'd never done it at that level. That's what Randy McMichael was for. Randy was going to be the blocker on tosses and powers and all those type of things, and Gatesy was going to be a guy that was in the slot. Now, would you try to break tendencies up and put him on the line? Yeah, but it was not his strength by any means. And so when you have that tight end who has converted, you also have to have somebody else. And even Jimmy Graham hasn't looked the same since he left the Saints. I mean, Antonio Gates is one of the few that you could point to that says, hey, he didn't play college football and he thrived because, Gonzalez did play football at Cal as well.
You get a unique situation for that to be able to succeed. It's not automatic. For every Antonio Gates, there's 1,000 players that, couldn't do what he did. Gates is one of the all-time great. I'll give you an example of a guy who gave it a shot here, and unless he's rekindled it, I don't think he's going to make it. If you remember Rico Gathers.
Yep.
Rico Gathers was a terrific college basketball player at Baylor, but he was a tweener, and so it wasn't going to work out for him in the NBA. He tried to give pro football a shot, and he went to camp with the Cowboys, I think, twice.
Yeah.
And Gathers was a really, really good athlete, and he looked the part, but he ain't Antonio Gates. Gates is as unique as they come to be able to do what he did. Take a break here. Hanging with Hester and Hanny. We're brought to you by Richard Honda, home of the warm, fuzzy feeling, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Hanging with Hester and Hanny.
All right, speaking of Richard's Honda, as you know, they're a title sponsor here on Hanging with Hester and Hanny. You can find them online at richardshonda.com. Right there in the bottom right corner, if you've got a question right now, they can answer it with the chat they have available on the homepage of the website. Also, in the bottom left corner, they've got some new specials over there at Richard's Honda. It tells you exactly how long you have to save in these new specials. You got 28 days left to save, so make sure you take full advantage of that. Also, you need to go see them at 13413 Millerville Greens Boulevard in Baton Rouge. That's I-12 and Millerville, because they have over 700 new and pre-owned vehicles, and you're going to find something not only that you fall in love with, but that fits your lifestyle as well, because no matter what you're looking for, cars, hybrids, midsize, full-size SUVs, they've got the Odyssey minivan with every feature you can imagine, including a vacuum in the back of it. So if you have children, you know exactly why that is needed. They have the Ridgeline truck as well. So no matter where you're at in your life, no matter what your lifestyle calls for, you're going to drive away happy over at Richard's Honda. That's Richard's Honda, home of the warm and fuzzy feeling.
We opened up the playbook and expanded our coverage. Listen daily in high definition on 98.1 HD2. We are 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
This is a house call. This is a follow-up appointment. This is a diabetes checkup. This isn't just more convenient care, it's more advanced care. This is innovating healthcare at Louisiana's #1 hospital, Auctioner.
This is big. Really big. I mean really, really, really big. Because Honda's summer clearance event is going on right now at Richard's Honda. With 0 to the 4th power on brand new Honda Civics. That's 0 down, 0 due at signing, 0 security deposit, and 0 first month payment. Plus, summer clearance on every new vehicle in stock. Just another reason why people call Richard's Honda the smart choice. I-12 at Millerville Road and richardshonda.com.
ServiceMaster Elite create clean, disinfected work environments. As a local business, we take pride in serving the New Orleans and Baton Rouge areas. Our cleaning protocols follow CDC and OSHA standards for healthcare settings, offices, senior living, restaurants, and industrial plants. Contact Service Master Elite to get your operation ready for reopening with germ disinfection cleaning. Service Master Elite, the trusted choice in professional cleaning since 1996.
104.5 ESPN invites you to take a short quiz for a chance to win a brand new EU1000 generator from our friends at Bozeman Distributors. Simply go to 1045ESPN.com now through August 16th and take the quiz to see how prepared you are for hurricane season. Everyone who takes the quiz is automatically entered to win the generator. Our winner will be chosen on Monday, August 17th. Get prepared for hurricane season from 1045 ESPN and stay prepared with Bozeman Distributors.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals. But many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
At All-Star Toyota, you get it all. If you're in the market for an all-new Toyota vehicle, come see our friendly and knowledgeable sales team at All-Star Toyota. Located in Baton Rouge at the corner of Airline and Goodwood, we've been serving our community since 2005 by offering a large selection of new Toyota cars, trucks, and SUVs. Get behind the wheel of your dream car and take a test drive at All-Star Toyota today.
Join us on Monday night for Game Time with Jimmy Ott and Ben Mintz. We're live at Ruffino's on Highland Road as we recap the weekend in sports, including Pelicans versus Clippers. Tune in from 6 to 8 p.m. on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Hangin with Hester and Hanny on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge and 1130 The Tiger.
We had another example of a guy sitting out a year and coming back. We really should have gotten this one. Tyrann Mathieu.
Oh, yeah. I just actually put on Twitter. The SEC Network said, who's your favorite athlete of all time in the SEC? And I couldn't decide. It was either Tyrann or Clyde, so I just chose both.
It was going to be my segue after you told me why it was different for Mathieu, because he showed up and started. I mean, he had missed that entire season, the entire 2012 season. But when he showed up in Arizona, immediately made an impact. So it can be done. It's not impossible for him. It was an off-the-field related problem. He wasn't injured, but it was something different. So, yeah, that qualifies. And
if I'm not mistaken, he got injured a little bit in that rookie season. I think he played 12 games.
That sounds right.
I think
that sounds
so.
right.
A little bit. So that's another part of it, is not only the performance on the field and catching up with everything, but it's also the part of making sure your body's able to play a full slate of games when you haven't been leaned on a little bit, when you haven't taken a hit, or in Tyrann's case, giving the hit.
I would say that he is also unique. He has a skill set that not very many people have. So it can be done. It's just extremely difficult.
I'm surprised he doesn't return kicks, by the way, in the NFL. I asked him that. I think it was 2 times ago when we had him on. I was like, you were so good in college. You were so good at punt returning. And we asked him that question. We said, well, the injury part of it. And 2, he's like, well, Pat Pete was on my team in Arizona. He was pretty good at it too.
Right. And both of those guys had to wait until later in their LSU careers. They didn't get put out there in game one. Yeah, it took a little while. Your favorite SEC athlete was him.
I mean, I'm sitting here thinking, and obviously, like from my childhood, I've got names that come to mind. Like I loved Kevin Falk. I mean, I absolutely loved him because he meant so much to the program when he came. But watching the way Tyrann played the game and having so much heart, not being the highest recruited guy, so I've always gravitated towards that, and I love the way he played. And then when he hit a bump in the road, the way he came back and the way he owns it and doesn't blame anybody else, that goes a long way for me. And so there's so many things. And he's such a a great man, a great family man. He's given so much back to every community he's been a part of in the pros. He's given back to LSU, their new football ops building, and love having him on the show. And so for all those reasons, and then Clyde, just because I probably got a chance to, mentor and be around Clyde more than any player, that I've ever been around, and just knowing where he came from and some of the things that he went through to get to the point where he was at, and nobody ever thought he was going to be a bell cow guy. Every other guy in recruiting they didn't want the local guy. And then he goes on, and this year, when does he get replaced? And no, he ends up being a first-round pick. So for all those reasons, and they're great people and always been good to me, and just so fun to watch because, nobody played like the Honey Badger. And when we start to talk about it, and I know Joe and what Joe did last year is going to overshadow a lot of things, and even what Jamar did, but as pure single running back seasons, it's going to be hard to top what Clyde Edwards-Helaire did. Now, I know you got, Billy Cannon, and he won the Heisman Trophy, and we could point to some of the seasons that guys and Fournette and Kevin Falk and all of those guys had. But as far as a single season from a running back, I don't know if you'll find a more valuable one than Clyde just had.
He had so many pivotal plays. The season that Fournette had when he was a sophomore is probably going to be statistically very difficult to top. I think he rushed for just under 2,000 yards. That's going to be difficult just from a sheer numbers standpoint to top. And he certainly had some iconic plays. The one against Auburn probably stands out more than any. But that was not a championship team. Edwards-Helaire made some plays for a championship team that they absolutely, positively had to have against Alabama. And I'm sorry, it goes a longer way when you do it in that game. When you take the ball off on 3rd and 10, when you take the ball basically from your shoe tops, you make a move and you plow through for the first down when they had to have it. When you make that spin move and go to the far corner, when you plow in for the last touchdown for the last touchdown where you put it, and then when you drag them 10 yards for the last first down to put the game away. No, those are things that you remember forever.
Clyde's performance in Tuscaloosa, because it ended in a championship, is the greatest non-quarterback performance in LSU history for me. And I'll say that with my chest out. And anybody wants to argue, I'd love to argue with you, because that's, it's kind of what we do in Sports Talk Radio.
Some people might argue you to you, because that Florida game went a long way, man.
Well, I'm telling you, Clyde's was better.
Okay, well, and you're certainly entitled to that opinion. But I'm telling you, some people would argue back to you, that Florida game was an iconic game in the championship season that you had to have, and you made 4 plays in one drive that if you don't win the game, don't win a national championship. It's got a lot of similarities.
Yeah, and I'm very fortunate to have a moment like that fans love to talk about, and I'll talk about it till my tongue's dry. I love it, absolutely love it. But to your point, going back to it, championship seasons, they just mean more. It doesn't matter, what
SEC
performance.
Network, that just means
right
more.
Here.
Right.
It doesn't matter what you throw out there, and that's no disrespect, because look, there's running backs at LSU that have had so many great performances. I mean, you mentioned Leonard versus Auburn. They didn't want to hit him. They literally wanted to quit because they were tired of number 7 hitting them. I get that, but what Clyde did in Tuscaloosa against that defense, to not only make them look silly by the spin moves and all the things he did, then he just started to be a physical runner once they were waiting on the spin move, and to change your running style within a game and to catch the ball, like you mentioned, on your shoelaces. And, you had to close the game out. They know you're running it. You know you're running it, and they can't do a damn thing about it. As a running back, there's no better feeling than when you know you're running right in the middle of the defense, and they know it too, and you still pick up the first down. It's the ultimate feeling.
It was an amazing thing. I would say that just for straight fun, when I was in school, watching Mahmoud Abdul-Rauf shoot a basketball, he's Chris Jackson at the time, obviously, was so much fun, because there's never been a player in LSU basketball history, maybe in college basketball history, that I saw play. I didn't see Maravich in person, okay? But I got to imagine there was some similarities to it, that when he put the ball in the air, I expected it to go in every time.
Right.
And I'm talking about, 20, 21, 22 feet shots. I expected it to go in. And then there was a little matter of the drink special over at Fred's when he scores lots of points. So we really liked it when he did well. But he was fun to watch because he was as good a playmaker as I've ever seen. Again, I didn't see Maravich play live in college. That's before my time. I've certainly seen all of the highlight films.
Right.
But watching him play, that was a lot of fun.
No, you're exactly right. And there's some performances that, they happen in spurts and, parts of seasons. Like in 06 with LSU basketball, like Tyrus Thomas and the spurt that he was in that year. And then you had Stromile Swift a couple years before that. And we've seen spurts from other guys. But to do it for a full season and a full career, that's what makes it so difficult. And, kind of another example, we'll take it to the diamond for like a guy like Todd Walker. If Todd didn't get a hit, you were surprised. Not if he got a hit. It was like if Todd didn't hit and get on first base or hit a double in the gap, you were surprised by that. And those type of performances and those type of guys, I can understand if, of course my mind went to football when this question was asked. But, I mean, growing up, I was Todd Walker's biggest fan, right? And so there's so many guys in LSU that did it for their career that we could sit up here, we could debate almost each sport.
Take a break. Hour number 3 today. Laura Rutledge will be with us. Cole Cubelic will be with us. We're brought to you by Richards Honda, home of the warm and fuzzy feeling. Hanging with Hester and Hanny, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Hangin' with Hester and Hanny.
GMFS Mortgage, GMFSmortgage.com, helping you navigate here through phase 2. And, for one of the things that you might be looking at right now, if you're not in the market for a new home, but you maybe want to add on to your home, maybe you're adding to your family, maybe you need a little bit more room, a construction loan with these great rates might make the most sense for you right now. GMFSmortgage.com can give you a variety of options to proceed farther from here. What you'll do is you'll sit with a local counselor. They'll ask you a few questions. You answer them, and then they'll lay out all of your options. There's no surprises from there all the way through your closing. So if you're in the market for a new home right now, you may have more purchasing power than ever before with these low rates. A refi will give you short and long-term benefits, and a construction loan if you want to add on to your home. Do what I did. Do what thousands of others have done, and start your journey today at GMFSmortgage.com.
Off the Bench, Hanging with Hester and Hanny. After further review and more are all live daily on the 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge YouTube page. Subscribe now to interact with us inside the live chat. Find highlights for each show's channel and get notified whenever we go live.
Divorce is hard. Divorce is messy. Divorce is exhausting. The law offices of O.C. Brown walked me through my divorce and helped me find the right solution for me, my kids, my finances, and my property.
Call the law offices of O.C. Brown, your law firm for a lifetime.
To all of our heroes working on the front lines of this COVID-19 pandemic, your bravery and selflessness represent the very best of us, and we want to say thank you. I'm asking everyone around the state to join me in celebrating the heroism of our healthcare professionals on the 19th of every month at 1900 hours, that's 7 p.m. Write a note of appreciation, make plans to donate to charitable organizations, or say a prayer. To learn more, visit 19thanks.org. Thank you, and God bless.
This isn't just another day. It's so much more. Kelly's life was put on hold when her auctioneer primary care doctor discovered a rare blood disorder. Her doctor connected her to an auctioneer care team of cancer, heart, and kidney specialists. With multiple primary care locations around Baton Rouge, same-day appointments, and online scheduling, we're relentless about keeping you healthy. Auctioneer Baton Rouge, innovating healthcare for Kelly.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's 756-2644 for Gulf Coast Office Products.
Are you a licensed contractor? There's lots of good contractors in Louisiana doing work the right way, but unfortunately, too many unlicensed contractors are working outside the licensing requirements. Working as a contractor in Louisiana requires a license for the company doing the work. The Louisiana State Licensing Board for Contractors wants to help you get licensed to allow you to conduct work legally. It's not difficult to get the license. We can help you. Go to lacontractor.org for more information. Licensed contractors, it's the law.
Gulf Coast Bank and Trust is a local bank with a straightforward philosophy.
It's about doing the right thing for our customers.
Participating in our community with annual local fundraisers. Offering individual attention in a modern banking atmosphere with a trusted local company. Gulf Coast Bank invested in technology with a local touch, giving our customers the power to bank anywhere, anytime.
We're building relationships through personal service as the bank that cares about you.
Gulf Coast Bank and Trust, the bank that cares about you.
0% for 72 months on all new 2020 F-150s. Visit Bayou Ford for a new 2020 Ford F-150 with 0% for 72 months. And all new Bayou Ford vehicles come with a 1 million mile powertrain warranty.
Coming up on Tuesdays Off the Bench, Coach O tells us how they'll use the extended offseason to get ready for Game 1. The Pelicans managed to keep their playoff hopes alive, and a brand new OTB mailbag. Off the Bench, 7 to 10 a.m., 104.5 ESPN.
Hangin with Hester and Hanny on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge and 1130 The Tiger.
A couple people brought up the Cecil Collins game against Auburn, and that was one of those you remember where you were watching that thing. So
I definitely remember it.
I thought it was 220. I had to look it up. He had 232 yards on 27 carries, and Jerry DiNardo will tell you now that he should have had 28 because the 3rd and 2 where they ran the pass run option. And, well, anyway, what I had forgotten about that game was that Rondell Mealy ran for 129 yards as well. Kevin Falk was out for that game with, I forgot what the injury was, but Mealy went for $129 on the night that Collins went for 232.
We might have to ask Cole Cubelic when he hops on with us at 2:30 about that rush defense for Auburn.
Was he on that team? Was that 97?
Yeah,
He was
his last year was 99.
Okay.
I believe. And you know, by the way, Cecil Collins, if of course y'all remember, I'm not sure it mattered what defense was out there that night because he was running possess.
Well,
and Rondell Mealy, by the way, another LSU guy that doesn't get talked about enough, had a nice NFL career, was a really good running back for LSU. I think the position that you can point to for LSU, if you just have this conversation, you know, about debating greatest, like the running back position.
At DBU?
Well, DBU's kind of speaks for itself, but you know, individual performances, you're always going to look at the offensive players more. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
And so when you look at the running backs that LSU's had, I mean, there's such a long list. Overtime, not only in this period, that period. I mean, there's such a long list of historic running backs at LSU. That's a very difficult discussion to have.
I don't. It certainly couldn't have been one of their best rush defenses, but Takeo Spikes was on that team.
God,
and he was so good.
God, there. Look, Takeo Spikes played with the Chargers when I was there, and he was at the latter part of his career, but it still didn't matter. I was like 20 ISO, look up, and there's number 51. Like, you pop your neck a couple times because you know his neck's ready.
He was early in his career when he played next to Marcellus Mostella, who's got one of the great football names ever. I mean, Marcellus, it sounds like if he's not a mafioso, he's a linebacker, right?
He knows the guy.
Yeah, he knows the guy. Those two standing next to each other on that Auburn defense were pretty good. But, yeah, that was quite the thing to watch.
He also stood by Patrick Willis with the 49ers, and it was kind of like good luck.
I forgot they played together.
Oh, yeah, I didn't. You might have. I didn't.
Spikes was a lot older than he was, right? So Spikes
he was still playing at a high level.
Yeah, he was.
I remember they sent a blitz, and they brought the house, and we had kind of like a slide protection, and they brought everybody. They brought Alden Smith, who was a rookie, who's a really good player. They brought Takeo Spikes. They brought Patrick Willis. It was a zero blitz, and it was pick your poison with who you picked up. And my guy, Ryan Matthews, who was a young buck, tried to take Patrick Willis straight up and not cut him. Didn't work out well for Ryan.
Bad move.
Didn't work out well.
I bet he didn't make that mistake again.
He didn't.
No.
He started biting ankles after that.
Laura Rutledge, when we come back, and Cole Cubelic at the bottom of the 2 o'clock hour. We are brought to you by Richard's Honda, home of the warm and fuzzy feeling. Hanging with Hester and Hanny. 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Hangin with Hester and Hanny.
At All Star Toyota, you get it all. If you're in the market for an all-new Toyota vehicle, come see our friendly and knowledgeable sales team at All Star Toyota. Located in Baton Rouge at the corner of Airline and Goodwood, we've been serving our community since 2005 by offering a large selection of new Toyota cars, trucks, and SUVs. Get behind the wheel of your dream car and take a test drive at All Star Toyota today.
ServiceMaster Elite create clean, disinfected work environments. As a local business, we take pride in serving the New Orleans and Baton Rouge areas. Our cleaning protocols follow CDC and OSHA standards for healthcare settings, offices, senior living, restaurants, and industrial plants. Contact ServiceMaster Elite to get your operation ready for reopening with germ disinfection cleaning. ServiceMaster Elite, the trusted choice in professional cleaning since 1996.
This is big. Really big. I mean really, really, really big. Because Honda's summer clearance event is going on right now at Richards Honda. With 0 to the 4th power on brand new Honda Civics. That's 0 down, 0 due at signing, 0 security deposit, and 0 first month payment. Plus, summer clearance on every new vehicle in stock. Just another reason why people call Richards Honda the smart choice. I-12 at Millerville Road and richardshonda.com.
To all of our heroes working on the front lines of this COVID-19 pandemic, your bravery and selflessness represent the very best of us, and we want to say thank you. I'm asking everyone around the state to join me in celebrating the heroism of our healthcare professionals on the 19th of every month at 1900 hours, that's 7 p.m. Write a note of appreciation, make plans to donate to charitable organizations, or say a prayer. To learn more, visit 19thanks.org. Thank you, and God bless.
Crime has serious consequences, but anyone can make a mistake. If you find yourself in trouble with the law, know that you have rights, and it's okay to demand them. The law offices of O.C. Brown are here to protect you and your rights. Felony or misdemeanor, DUI or drug charge. No matter what crime you're accused of, you still have rights. Let the law offices of O.C. Brown uphold them. Call 225-343-1111. Your law firm for a lifetime.
This is a house call. This is a follow-up appointment. This is a diabetes checkup. This isn't just more convenient care, it's more advanced care. This is innovating healthcare at Louisiana's #1 hospital, Ochsner.
Gulf Coast Bank and Trust is a local bank with a straightforward philosophy.
It's about doing the right thing for our customers.
Participating in our community with annual local fundraisers, offering individual attention in a modern banking atmosphere with a trusted local company. Gulf Coast Bank invested in technology with a local touch, giving our customers the power to bank anywhere, anytime.
We're building relationships through personal service as the bank that cares about you.
Gulf Coast Bank and Trust, the bank that cares about you.
Oh, hey, what's up? It's Big D and Bubba, 100.7 The Tiger Morning Show. We'd love for you to join us every weekday, 4 a.m. till 9 a.m.
Yeah, everything you want in a show. Country music. We got laughs. We got celebrity in-studio guests. We just need you.
Join us every weekday morning, 4 a.m. to 9 a.m., right where it all started.
That's right. Louisiana's country station, 100.7 The Tiger.
Hangin with Hester and Hanny on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge and 1130 The Tiger.
Thank you for being with us on this Monday afternoon, whether you're watching along with us on CST or on YouTube, the 104.5 ESPN page. Listen up in Shreveport on 1130 The Tiger, or here with us on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. Charles Hanagriff, Jacob, Hester. here with you. So I've got a plane ticket I've got nothing to do with now. You ready for this? The Raiders have announced they have told their season ticket holders that no fans will be allowed at home games this season. Had my plane ticket, had my hotel reservation.
Was
Saints
there a team from South Louisiana that was going out there?
Yeah, you know, they enticed me with the cheap flight. They enticed me with the free hotel room, and now they're just pulling the rug.
I had a similar situation, which I think is going to happen. The Chargers were actually coming to New Orleans and on a Monday night, and I planned on going and visit with all my old, people that are still on staff there with the Chargers, being on the sidelines, had that all worked out. That doesn't look great.
No, it doesn't. Now, the Saints haven't said that they're going to be no people at the games.
Right.
They're just, it's a fluid situation. So how much, boy, the Raiders' first year in the new stadium would have been a hard sellout every week.
Yeah.
And we were looking at some of the tickets on the secondary market, and anything was $1,000 ticket. It was I was going prepared to pay for a fairly pricey ticket. I'm not telling you I would have paid $1,000 for one,
right?
But I would have. I was bringing Jimmy, so I mean I was gonna,
Why was Jimmy going to Vegas?
There's a book club.
Gotcha.
He's going to go check on that. The idea that we would have been able to scour around for tickets and try to find something, but that's not going to happen now. So you can figure what this is going to cost. You can figure what this is going to cost Mark Davis and the Raiders, but it's not unexpected. We kind of figured that this would be the norm.
Yeah, and it's going to hurt. I think the NFL can still, that they can absorb it. When you start talking about no fans, I just was thinking about baseball over the weekend, having 81 home games, and even in the worst case scenarios, that's still the Marlins, right? 10,000 people, whatever the number might be, but a team like the Braves or the Yankees or the Red Sox and Cubs, all these teams, right? And you missed 81 chances at having a home crowd. The NFL, it hurts, no question. You missed 10 because of preseason. But the Major League Baseball ranks, I don't know. That's going to take a long time to recover that profit if they ever do.
They're going to let the Marlins play tomorrow.
The bus made it back to Miami?
I guess. I don't know if those guys are playing, but they're going to let the rest of the Marlins play. Some other news. We're waiting for Laura Rutledge here. She's been delayed just a second. Darius Days has officially pulled his name out of the NBA draft. So
no surprise.
We expected that move, but that became official. I think it was late yesterday. So
just waiting on one more name. For sure.
Two.
Two, but one more that I feel like has a chance to stay in the NBA draft.
Right. So we'll see what Mr. Watford decides. Joining us now from the SEC Network, Laura Rutledge. Laura, good afternoon. How are you?
Hey, I'm doing great. How are you guys?
We're pretty good. This is the beginning of football practice, as it were, but it feels so much different. I'll ask you a similar question we asked earlier. How do you feel about the precautions these teams have taken and the enormous strides that they have had to go through and make over the course of the summer to get ready to start what will be the most unusual football camp ever?
Yeah, I mean, I can't even imagine some of the planning and contingency planning and the back and forth that's gone on, just to even get to this point. And even some of the behind the scenes that I've been told or that I've been privy to, I mean, it's absolutely incredible just what's gone on. But, that said, I think that what we're dealing with here is obviously an incredibly unique, difficult time. But I do think that the precautions being taken really do put a lot of these guys maybe even in a better position than they would be, going to the grocery store or going, kind of about their regular life, just with how safe the plans are. I think the main thing, and we've seen this in baseball, is just everyone's got to be committed, to staying within those parameters outside of being in the football facilities. And that's really going to be the key.
Laura, how are y'all dealing with as far as your TV schedule, really having so much unknown? I mean, we don't even know the SEC schedule yet, and we'll get to that. But, having SEC Nation and having all the different platforms that you're on alone, what have the conversations been like there? Is it just basically everything's put on hold?
Yeah, I mean, it kind of is. And we have plenty of planning meetings going on all the time, too, just sort of trying to figure out what can we do to bring the best possible product to our fans, at home. And this year is definitely going to look different. But I can tell you, actually, we had a Zoom call, because that's all anybody can do anymore, it feels like. But we had a Zoom call with our SEC Nation team just a couple of days ago. And I don't know, honestly, it was fun to just sit there and talk some ball with those guys. And I really hope that we get to that point where, it's less about where are we and is everybody in the same place and what's going on with that, and more about just actual football. So we're optimistic, but we're also realistic about what this season might look like. And I think from that standpoint, we'll just be covering what we can as deeply and as focused as we can, like we always try to do. But when you guys are right, it really is going to be different.
All right, Laura, I mentioned we'd get to the schedule. Let's go ahead and get to that. Here we are. We're in August, and we don't quite yet know the full SEC schedule, and there's so many different options on the table. And one of the options would be a very difficult schedule for your Florida Gators. When you look at it, if you played the next two opponents, that would add Alabama and Texas A&M. Of course, that's just one of the models, and it's going to be very difficult to create a schedule that is fair for everyone, that everyone loves, but there's different options on the table. Which one do you think ultimately the SEC will choose?
Yeah, I mean, you're right. Like, there are some that you look at and you say, well, wait a second, is that fair to a team that, might be really coming into its stride this year? And I honestly think from so many of the decision makers that I talk to, especially in the Southeastern Conference, they just want to see football played in some way, shape, or form, and what makes the most sense. So we really don't even know right this second what's going to make the most sense. And I would say that, my gut leans toward that model that would be really difficult for Florida, but might be just even a little bit more interesting. I mean, that's the other thing, too. This is going to be fascinating no matter what, just because of how it's presented. But I think that, Greg Sankey and the SEC in general will look for the most compelling products. So what can they do to strengthen that product? And that may be, adding even more interesting opponents to some of these schedules. So that would be where I'd lean right this second. But who knows? I mean, at this point, like I said, I think everyone's just going to be pumped to play football. And I think it's interesting what the SEC decided to do following the ACC announcement of, their plans, is pushing it back a little bit, allows them to sort of see what other people do and to see maybe some mistakes that are made that they'd like to avoid, and to just even get a little bit more information by that point. So some fans that I've talked to were a little frustrated by that and wanted it to, be right along in lockstep with the ACC and other proposals. But I actually think what the SEC did is really smart.
Laura, there's been a strength of schedule component that has been proposed in adding these two games. I'll just repeat my question that I've asked to everybody, that is, what strength of schedule are we talking about? Is there one that makes sense? A year, a 2-year, a multi-year rolling, a prediction for this year? Is there a strength of schedule component that would work best in your opinion?
Oh, man, that strength of schedule no matter even in normal times before all of this, it was kind of a brain buster for everybody, and people would get frustrated with it. I imagine there'll be another one of those sticking points now. And, I kind of like the idea of it being more of a 2-year thing, just to sort of be a little bit more fair. But then again, we've all always said that college football, not all of us, but I feel like the majority has said that college football seasons really should be a snapshot of what that season is. I mean, it doesn't necessarily matter what you did in the previous year or the year after that. So from that standpoint, I would be tempted to say that everyone's going into this year. It's almost like what we're seeing right now with the NBA and baseball to an extent, and hopefully we'll see with college football and the NFL, is you're going into this year and it's just going to be different. And we sort of have to accept that and say that maybe a team that you didn't think was going to win is going to win it all, or win your conference championship, or whatever it may be, just because of how it all plays out. And that part of it, I think we may just have to come to terms with and say, look, from a strength of schedule standpoint, it's just going to have to be what we're doing right this second and see how that goes. And it's not going to be comparable. There's no way. The college football playoff, I am hoping, can continue to exist within, the parameters of college football, whatever it looks like. And so however we get to that is going to need to be something that I think that end goal is the most important thing no matter what.
Laura, if I was one of these G5 programs, or I was an FCS school that made it a habit of scheduling a big-time Power 5 program, I think I would be a little worried with this conference-only schedule, because fans are going to get a taste of really good football each and every week. You're going to have, good on good almost every single week. And once you get a taste of that, I wonder how much that's going to change the schedules moving forward, because how many times have we talked about scheduling in the SEC and maybe adding a conference game? And so when you have games like this each and every week, it might be hard to go back to what we used to have.
Yeah, it's a really good point. I think the counterpoint to that would be that, the LSUs and Alabamas and Georgias of the world are going to get a taste of what it's like to not have one of those cupcake opponents, and one of those weeks that you can sort of say, whoo, it might take a breather this week, might only have to play in the first quarter or something like that. And look, I'm not saying that these guys that play or these coaches that coach enjoy these lesser opponents. That's not it, because I think we all know there's a competitive fire that motivates them to want to compete with the best every single week. But there is a reality to the wear and tear that the season does take on your body, and just some of that. You wonder if, they would actually come in and say, well, wait a second, we need some of these, for lack of a better term, some of these lesser opponents, some of these cupcake teams to play, to just give ourselves a little bit of time to recover throughout the year. So that is going to be really interesting, because whether they, some of these big time schools want to say, oh, well, we want to continue to pay millions of dollars to these smaller schools to keep their programs viable and all that, and kind of make it about that. I think at the end of the day, there really may be a part of them that says, they need that lesser competition for a week to have a little break. But from a fan standpoint, I would love to just see the best of the best every single week, conference opponents, games that matter, games that mean something. We all fool ourselves, and they're sitting there saying that, a game against an FCS opponent, when you're talking about, some of the cream of the crop in college football against an FCS opponent, you're fooling yourself if you say that that's a game that matters.
Laura, we got one of our longtime listeners that has been advocating a schedule rollout show with you and Cole Cubelic and whoever else, Peter and whoever else at the SEC Network wants to do this. This has got made for TV written all over it. So tell me there's been a meeting somewhere about announcing the 2 additional opponents in a made for TV event.
I saw that tweet. I try to look at every single tweet that comes my way. I'm always truly honored, even if it's a mean tweet. I'm honored that somebody wanted to tweet me. And so I'm forgetting this man's name, but I saw his tweet and I thought that is so nice of him to think of me. And my man, Cole Cubelic, is the bomb. So I absolutely love the idea of doing something with Cole. I cannot confirm nor deny that this meeting has happened discussing this particular rollout special, but I guarantee you, if this is the way that, they decide to go about things and there are these types of things to announce, I am going to clamor to try to get myself involved in that. So I might need to send that tweet to my bosses or something and say, look, one person on Twitter said they wanted this,
right.
So it must be something we should do, right?
Hey, we threw the idea out there to Peter Burns earlier on in the show, and he mentioned he was going to have the old school Bob Barker type microphone. But if you know Peter Burns, if he has the microphone, he's going to talk way too much. So we need to make sure that you have the mic.
No, I'll just PB can just take it, and Cole and I will be his backup dancers behind him, and just really, allow for some entertainment on the show. No, PB should definitely be involved in the show too. Absolutely.
Laura, we appreciate your time. We'll look forward to talking to you as we get into camp, such as it is throughout the month of August. Thanks today for coming on.
Awesome. Thank you, guys.
We'll take a break here. Hanging with Hester and Hanny, brought to you by Richard's Honda, home of the warm and fuzzy feeling, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Hangin' with Hester and Hanny. Our listeners fire off their opinions on the jimsfirearms.net hotline at 499-1045. Keep listening for your next chance to shoot us your thoughts with the jimsfirearms.net hotline on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
At All Star Toyota, you get it all. If you're in the market for an all-new Toyota vehicle, come see our friendly and knowledgeable sales team at All Star Toyota. Located in Baton Rouge at the corner of Airline and Goodwood, we've been serving our community since 2005 by offering a large selection of new Toyota cars, trucks, and SUVs. Get behind the wheel of your dream car and take a test drive at All Star Toyota today.
This isn't just another day. It's so much more. Kelly's life was put on hold when her auctioneer primary care doctor discovered a rare blood disorder. Her doctor connected her to an auctioneer care team of cancer, heart, and kidney specialists. With multiple primary care locations around Baton Rouge, same-day appointments, and online scheduling, we're relentless about keeping you healthy. Auctioneer Baton Rouge, innovating healthcare for Kelly.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals. But many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
Crime has serious consequences, but anyone can make a mistake. If you find yourself in trouble with the law, know that you have rights, and it's okay to demand them. The law offices of O.C. Brown are here to protect you and your rights. Felony or misdemeanor, DUI or drug charge. No matter what crime you're accused of, you still have rights. Let the law offices of O.C. Brown uphold them. Call 225-343-1111. Your law firm for a lifetime.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets, from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology, from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's 756-2644 for Gulf Coast Office Products.
ServiceMaster Elite create clean, disinfected work environments. As a local business, we take pride in serving the New Orleans and Baton Rouge areas. Our cleaning protocols follow CDC and OSHA standards for healthcare settings, offices, senior living, restaurants, and industrial plants. Contact ServiceMaster Elite to get your operation ready for reopening with germ disinfection cleaning. ServiceMaster Elite, the trusted choice in professional cleaning since 1996.
Are you a licensed contractor? There's lots of good contractors in Louisiana doing work the right way, but unfortunately, too many unlicensed contractors are working outside the licensing requirements. Working as a contractor in Louisiana requires a license for the company doing the work. The Louisiana State Licensing Board for Contractors wants to help you get licensed to allow you to conduct work legally. It's not difficult to get the license. We can help you. Go to lacontractor.org for more information. Licensed contractors, it's the law.
Gulf Coast Bank and Trust is giving our customers the power to bank anywhere, anytime during this challenging event. And we're right there with you. Our mobile banking app is a smart way to manage your money and time. Gulf Coast Bank and Trust, the bank that cares about you.
Le posso offrire un caffè? Le posso offrire un caffè? Andiamo insieme da me, non c'è.
Call Mr. Electric today for electrical repairs, upgrades.
Hey, it's Matt Moscona inviting you to join us for Monday's AFR. Presented by Relief Windows, the Saints Open Training Camp. All the storylines, we'll have them for you on Monday's AFR. Join us 3 to 6, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Hangin with Hester and Hanny on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge and 1130 The Tiger.
Go to 1045ESPN.com now through August 16th and take a quiz to see how prepared you are for hurricane season. Everyone who takes the quiz will instantly put their name in a drawing for a brand new EU1000 generator from Bozeman Distributors. Get prepared for hurricane season from 1045 ESPN Baton Rouge and stay prepared with Bozeman Distributors.
Hey, Musso, how the Red Sox doing? I've been meaning to ask you that all show real quick.
They're tanking for Kumar Rocker.
Okay, I was just wondering.
I'm okay with it. I
was just wondering.
It's working.
It's very much working.
Hey, Paul, the Braves are going for 6 in a row tonight, in case you were wondering that. Okay.
You know,
just want to throw that in there.
I think I would have thought you would have been in a real good mood about the Braves, given that Ronald Acuna has improved so much since last weekend.
It's an improvement. I don't know if it's exactly MVP level like I had him a couple weeks ago.
Last weekend, he struck out 8 times in 3 games. Against these same Mets this weekend, he only struck out 4 times in 3 games. Yesterday was the first game of the season where he didn't strike out.
Progress. That's not ideal from your leadoff hitter. By the way, he should not be the leadoff hitter. I realize that he has the skill set because he's stolen 40 bases. He's a fast guy. Typically puts the ball in play. Ozzie Albies should be your leadoff hitter, or Dansby Swanson. I mean, either one of those guys can be it. But
18 strikeouts in 10 games is not good.
It's not great. It's not great.
Almost like we asked for it on cue. Javonte Smart has pulled his name out of the NBA draft. So that's Days and Smart, and we figured we knew Williams was going to go. We thought there was a really good chance that those 2 guys would come back, and now it's about Watford. And
it's kind of always been about Watford. Not that getting those guys back isn't huge, but you felt good about getting those guys back, and you felt strongly about Williams staying in the draft, right? So no surprises yet.
What do you feel differently today than you did before, where Watford is concerned?
I think it would be a smart move for him to come back, and I realize it's intriguing to go to the NBA, and you feel like you have a chance. And there's been other guys from LSU that have gone the G League route and made it to the NBA. But for him, I think the best case scenario is come back, improve on your defense, which needs improving, right? And we know you've got a skill set that can get better, and he's an NBA player in my mind. But if he comes back, Hanny, you're talking about a hell of a roster. It's already a hell of a roster, even if he doesn't come back. But adding him to the roster, you're talking about a real SEC contender. You're talking about a real NCAA tournament team, Sweet 16 type of team at minimum, I believe.
I'm hoping I'm wrong, but I think he's going to go. Had the season ended and everything gone this had been a normal year if there was no COVID, I didn't think that there was really much any chance that he would come back. I've always pictured him as a one and done, even if he's not a first-round pick, which right now I would say he is not. But
no, he's in the bubble of being drafted right now.
Right, but even with that in mind, I still think it's more likely that he goes pro. The whole schedule being thrown into turmoil has at least given them I think a fighting chance to get him back. Hope I'm wrong, but I think he's going to go pro. The executive director of the Football Bowl Association is a guy named Nick Carpelli, and they are talking today about criteria for bowl games. And what he told them is that a team's final record may have a minimal importance in their ability to go to a bowl game. Now, you want to talk about changing all the rules on something. We changed all the rules on just about everything, right? The NBA plays in a bubble.
What's rules?
Yeah, exactly. Baseball and hockey play in front of no fans. The Saints are staying at the hotel for 2 months, okay? So we kind of threw the whole old model out the business. But teams with a 500 record or better are eligible for the bowls. You go to a 10-game season, and, well, you're going to have, if you want to play all the bowls, and I don't think there's any chance we're going to play all of the bowls. I think some of these bowls are going to, fall by the wayside for a year, maybe more, because if you,
that's tough.
There's so many questions that you had. Ordinarily, it's, well, how many teams from this conference are you eligible? Come on in.
Yep.
Now it becomes about, can we sell any tickets? It's always about selling tickets. We're going to have the bowl whether they sell tickets or not. This year, you say, well, if I can't have any fans in the stands, then I can't have a bowl game. I can't make the math work. Gary Stokan, who is the executive director at the Peach Bowl, before they went to the 10-game schedule, said, look, man, the Peach Filet, the kickoff games, if there are no fans in the stadium, I can't have those games.
Right.
I can't pay for those games. And I would imagine a lot of the bowl game directors are going to say the same thing. So it's going to be, first of all, do you want to play? We call you up. You're Kentucky, since that's your favorite. That's your team du jour here
My
today.
team in the East, right?
Team A. Okay. So they call Kentucky, and Kentucky is, let's say Kentucky goes 4-6.
Right.
Just to, one game, less than what they would need ordinarily to qualify. And they say, do you want to go to the Texas Bowl? Well, Kentucky might not want to go.
Right.
Now, let's try again. Kentucky definitely wants to go, but maybe one of those MAC teams doesn't want to go to the bowl game in Detroit. Okay. So you say, well, if you guys don't want to come, and if we can't sell any tickets, then we got to put this off for a year. On the other hand, some of the programs that have the resources, well, they want to keep practicing, right? Coaches love to practice. Bowl practices. This is just like gravy. They get to say, may have to move some dates if regular seasons aren't done until December the 12th. Well, then you may not have a bowl game on December the 19th or 20th, the following week, the week before Christmas.
It's going to be so difficult for these bowl games, and they have these contracts with the title sponsors of these bowl games, and that's obviously a part of it. But you mentioned it. I mean, the fans for the bowl games itself, that helps them out with their bottom line. And if you can't have fans, is that sponsorship going to be enough to be able to have the game and for them to have the payouts to the teams and have their travel set up and rent out the hotels that they rent out and all these things, right? And
all the events that you do.
Events that you have. And, I've worked closely with the Independence Bowl before in my hometown in Shreveport, and there's a lot that goes into it. And the budget's talked about more than anything in some of these bowl games, right? And so
how much have you had to pay for by now is what I'm curious about. In a normal year, how much have you already spent? Between staff and
I mean, you have full-time staff and you have events, and the Independence Bowl always has a great trivia night, and it's always packed, and they have that event to help raise money for the Independence Bowl Foundation, and you have things throughout the year. That's why we heard Jim Nagy when he came on. He's obviously part of the Senior Bowl, and he said that's the thing we've missed out on the most is being a part of the Mobile community and doing the things that we typically would do within the community to not only raise money for us, but for Mobile as well. And so you're missing out on all of that.
You get a title sponsor that pays you. I don't know what day they pay you, but whatever day they pay you, you take that money and you start paying your expenses.
Yep.
And then guess what? Maybe you don't have a game. I'm not talking about the Independence Bowl. I'm just talking about any bowl in general.
Yeah.
Then what? We'll go get the money back.
Hey, I'm going to need that money back.
Whoa.
Hey, I'm going to need that check.
Yeah. Give me my money back. Huh.
Give me my money.
Good luck, man. Just another day. Just another day. Just something else that we're dealing with. The news has been mostly good, though. The news has been mostly good, I would say.
And we still got Cole Cubelic coming up here in a second. So
let's do that.
Good news.
Let's do that when we come back. When we return here, Hanging with Hester and Hanny, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Hangin' with Hester and Hanny. In times of need, get a full list of phone numbers, websites, and other important emergency information on the Demco Stormwatch page at 1045ESPN.com.
This is a house call. This is a test result. This is a prescription refill. This isn't just more convenient care, it's more advanced care. This is innovating healthcare. Start your virtual visit today at Auctioner Health.
To all of our heroes working on the front lines of this COVID-19 pandemic, your bravery and selflessness represent the very best of us, and we want to say thank you. I'm asking everyone around the state to join me in celebrating the heroism of our healthcare professionals on the 19th of every month at 1900 hours, that's 7 p.m. Write a note of appreciation, make plans to donate to charitable organizations, or say a prayer. To learn more, visit 19thanks.org. Thank you, and God bless.
Are you a licensed contractor? There's lots of good contractors in Louisiana doing work the right way, but unfortunately, too many unlicensed contractors are working outside the licensing requirements. Working as a contractor in Louisiana requires a license for the company doing the work. The Louisiana State Licensing Board for Contractors wants to help you get licensed to allow you to conduct work legally. It's not difficult to get the license. We can help you. Go to lacontractor.org for more information. Licensed contractors. It's the law.
Crime has serious consequences, but anyone can make a mistake. If you find yourself in trouble with the law, know that you have rights, and it's okay to demand them. The law offices of O.C. Brown are here to protect you and your rights. Felony or misdemeanor, DUI or drug charge. No matter what crime you're accused of, you still have rights. Let the law offices of O.C. Brown uphold them. Call 225-343-1111. Your law firm for a lifetime.
Hi, this is Chance Inman, President and Chief Operating Officer for Janney King Gulf Coast. Here are some ways to protect yourself and those around you from the coronavirus. Wash your hands often and thoroughly. Cover coughs and sneezes with your elbow. Disinfect high-touch surfaces regularly. Use non-contact methods for greeting others. And avoid touching your face. Following these steps, as well as social distancing, should help all of us stay healthy.
Janney King, the king of clean.
This is big. Really big. I mean really, really, really big. Because Honda's summer clearance event is going on right now at Richards Honda. With 0 to the 4th power on brand new Honda Civics. That's 0 down, 0 due at signing, 0 security deposit, and 0 first month payment. Plus, summer clearance on every new vehicle in stock. Just another reason why people call Richards Honda the smart choice. I-12 at Millerville Road and richardshonda.com.
At All-Star Toyota, you get it all. If you're in the market for an all-new Toyota vehicle, come see our friendly and knowledgeable sales team at All-Star Toyota. Located in Baton Rouge at the corner of Airline and Goodwood, we've been serving our community since 2005 by offering a large selection of new Toyota cars, trucks, and SUVs. Get behind the wheel of your dream car and take a test drive at All-Star Toyota today.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's 756-2644 for Gulf Coast Office Products.
Join us on Monday night for Game Time with Jimmy Ott and Ben Mintz. We're live at Ruffino's on Highland Road as we recap the weekend in sports, including Pelicans versus Clippers. Tune in from 6 to 8 p.m. on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Hangin with Hester and Hanny on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge and 1130 The Tiger.
We're brought to you by Richards Honda, home of the warm and fuzzy feeling. Join us now, Cole Cubelic. I feel like it's a good SEC network today, huh, Jake?
Well, we have Peter Burns. I don't know if that is good, but we have Peter on.
Cole Cubelic joins us now. Cole, good afternoon. How are you?
I'm doing well, guys. How about yourself?
Doing real good. So Hester has this question just right out of the chute. We were reminiscing about 97, and he had you had a question about Cecil Collins, right?
Yeah, Cole. So we were talking about all-time performances from LSU running backs, and we talked about Clyde's performance in Tuscaloosa this year, and then a lot of our listeners talked about Cecil Collins there in 97. Rondell Mealy also had a nice game there in 97. And since you were on Auburn's team, you can kind of be the deciding factor. Is Cecil Collins in 97 one of the best running back performances in LSU history?
As far as that I've seen that I can remember, I mean, obviously, you just think about the great backs. I mean, Kevin obviously had a couple of big games. Obviously, Fournette's going to have some big games, but I mean, I don't know if I've seen many games like that. And maybe it's just because some of it was unexpected and we didn't know that he was going to be all what he was in that game. But you're right about Rondell Mealy too. I mean, he was the thing that sticks out to me more than anything else is the PA announcer in that game. And I don't know if it's the same guy. I don't know who it was, but he would carry out Collins and Mealy on like a 6-yard run for 15 seconds. And I mean, it's just obviously they both gutted our defense, so we heard it a lot, and it was just over and over and over. But you just don't anticipate a dude that big to be able to move as quick or run as fast as Cecil Collins was. Like Rondell was a little more, he was like a longer, leaner guy, kind of shifty, more of a slasher. But I mean, Cecil Collins looked like he could have been, like, you remember back in the day, sometime like Alabama had a dude named Robert Stewart back in the day, like kind of Kobe Whiteside at Missouri right now. Teams would take that shorter kind of, if it was either a fullback or like an inside linebacker, and they could easily bulk up, and they would put him at nose guard and just let him shoot either A gap.
Yep.
Like that's kind of what Cecil Collins looked like an undersized nose guard that you could just let shoot the gaps and you weren't going to be able to touch him. But then all of a sudden you're handing him the football and he's running past people. And it just, as far as performances that I have seen, I mean, outside of some of the blocks that Jacob Hester had when he was a fullback in pass protection, that is probably the greatest LSU running back performance I've ever witnessed.
Cole, as we get into teams reporting for real this week, as you talk to people around the league, what is the biggest concern that coaches have with this reporting date and being able to pull off what will be obviously a very unusual camp?
That is a weird question, because I think that has changed drastically in the last 48 hours, and I think it's changed again in the last 24 hours. Because I think initially it was player safety and how can we get on the field and still be able to coach and still be able to execute plays and learn how we're supposed to line up and where different guys are supposed to be and how we execute certain things that we want to run on both sides of the ball, to what are guys going to be doing when they leave the facility, and those conversations of how to be responsible, how to act, and then probably beginning to prepare guys for when students actually come back to campus and how things are going to change. And you're going to have to even go a step further as to how you protect yourself and your teammates. But now you've thrown in a whole new dimension of, guys wanting a 50-50 revenue split in another conference, to they're not sure if if things are safe and maybe they should opt out. And, that whole thing has gone from boycott to opt out, which is very different terminology. You've got demands instead of questions, which is different terminology. So this is why I keep going back to the teams that have the best culture, the teams that have the most leadership are probably going to win the most games this fall, because they're able to look past this kind of stuff. They're able to self-police. They're able to lead in a way that has the younger guys understanding what the expectations are. And it's why I've said for a while that I think LSU's in a really good spot. That culture is exactly where it needs to be. Everybody just witnessed how to do it, how to win a national championship. And yeah, the personnel is going to be different, but the culture's not, the attitude's not, the demeanor's not. Everybody knows what it just took. They know how hard those other guys worked. They know what kind of plays they had to make. So I think that's a big advantage. But I think it starts with player safety first. I think the next thing is flexibility, of understanding that you're going to have to adapt, you're going to have to change. And if you're going to continue to be a college football coach, you better get comfortable with having conversations with your football team. And, I mean, there's some kids at TCU right now that are experiencing that. There's a lot of coaches in the Pac-12 that are experiencing that. And that's not something that I think Ed Orgeron has any issues with. But college football has better become much better communicators with their players moving forward.
I completely agree with you there, Cole. It is about what culture you have set within your program. It's about the conversations that you have had with your players, because right now these are different times. And even looking at right now with the amount of time that these SEC schools are going to have between now, and they've already kind of started these practices in the beginning of the season, you're talking about a much longer time than ever before. We're used to having training camp only 4 weeks. And so I think that culture is also a part of how do I make sure that I grab hold of my team and I have them for this long period of time, and I don't also wear them out physically and mentally, because we're talking about 7-8 weeks opposed to 4 weeks.
Well, and it's going to be a lot easier to wear guys out because they're not going to be in the same kind of shape that they're in. And it doesn't matter. I mean, I don't care what kind of a guy you are, and there's a lot of hard workers on every college football team, Jacob, but we all know that the thing that brings out your best is competition. And if you ask me what these guys have missed the most about being in their facilities, it's been competing on a daily basis. And I think a lot of times when you talk about college players competing, fans initially think, well, going out and running routes 7-on-7, or when you get pads, O-line, D-line drills, that kind of thing. Well, the reality is when you go in that facility, you compete every day. If I see a guard next to me power cleaning more than me, I want to beat him. When we get out there running 110s, I want to beat all the other linemen. I mean, those are the things that on a daily basis you don't have. And that's what raises your level of competitiveness, your desire. That raises your level of work ethic. And, I mean, it might be watching film. It might be snapping balls to quarterbacks. It could be a lot of different things for a lot of different positions. But that competitive aspect is what's been gone. So these guys, no matter how hard they've been working, they're not going to be in as good of a shape as they were working under Tommy Moffitt before this. It's not possible because they haven't had access to the equipment, the facilities, the recovery, the nutrition, and then that competition that's also been present. So there's going to be a lot of ground to be made up for all these teams of guys getting back to understanding. Like, I might have been out there running by myself, and it felt great. But now when I come out against my teammates and I'm going 100%, I'm gassed. I wasn't ready for this. And it's going to take a little longer to actually get there before I could previously. And I think coaches are going to have to be very careful not to just run their guys into the ground before they figure it out.
Cole, if you were in Mark Womack's chair, what is the most equitable way, in your opinion, to go about completing these last two games on everybody's SEC schedule?
I think there's only two ways that you do it, and you take either your next two cross-divisional opponents or your previous two cross-divisional opponents that are not on your schedule this year. I think that's the only way to keep some sort of fairness, quote fingers, if you will, to this. And there's going to be some teams that don't like it, but who cares if the two of the three or two of the four most powerful teams in the league don't like it? That was already set. It's already on paper. It's already been there. It's not debatable. You start trying to come up with a formula or a percentage or a round-robin game, that's when I think things become to get very dangerous, as opposed to you're facilitating one or two teams, or you're trying to make sure one or two teams stay happy or don't have to face another team. And I don't know how you do that. I don't know what that is. I don't know what the winning percentage formula or the quality opponent or strength of schedule formula is that would actually be fair across the board. For me, the only way to make it fair is to take something that was already in existence and then just apply it to all the teams.
Cole, which team do you think it affects the most if you did add those two next cross-division opponents? Is it as easy to say Florida?
Yeah, I think so. Getting Alabama and getting A&M, which, I mean, with this whole schedule change, my opinion on A&M has changed a little bit. I mean, one of the reasons that I think we were all so high on A&M was because of the schedule. And it looked like they had a pretty good chance to start 10-0 or 9-1, and then obviously play Alabama and LSU to close the season. I don't know if anybody else is going to catch it as bad as they would, but I think there's some teams that people aren't talking about, like LSU getting Kentucky and Tennessee. Like, those are two B-plus teams. Like, a lot of these teams are going to complain because they're going to get an A- team and like a C+ or C- team, or an A+ team and a D+ team. But I mean, if you're LSU and you're getting two B+ teams, like, that's tough. That's hard. Missouri gets A&M and Auburn on the road. That's not easy. If we're talking about playing it out this way, and that's the way that it was going to go. I think you're right that Florida probably gets it the worst, especially having to travel to College Station to play. But, I mean, there are some other ones that would not be easy by any stretch of the imagination.
Well, the two teams coming up for LSU, Kentucky and Tennessee, would be hard enough. But if you went back the other way, you said something I hadn't considered, which is to use the last two. That's feast and famine. That's Vandy and Georgia.
Yeah.
And I think Georgia and Florida are the teams that everybody out of the West would like to avoid if they could.
Well, and I think what happens is you start having the conversations of, if you're Alabama, you're saying, okay, wait a minute, we're getting Georgia, Florida, and Tennessee and playing the West. Kind of like what you would be saying there if LSU picked up Georgia. Like, hold on now, we're getting Georgia and Florida out of the East, and then we got to go play the West at the same time. So I think that's the way some of these teams are looking at it. I think that's the way Florida's looking at it, is like, hold on, we got LSU, and now we got to play Alabama and A&M, and I got to go play the East. Like, it's ridiculous. But here's the reality of it: it's a 10-game SEC schedule. Nobody's getting off the hook. Nobody's walking away from this. Like, this is a 15-round heavyweight fight, no matter how you look at it. Now, some people might be going up against Lennox Lewis. Some people might be going up against, somebody who's not so great. I was trying to think of that guy that Tyson fought, Peter McNeely.
Peter McNeely, baby.
Like somebody, some people are getting George Foreman in his 30s. Some people are getting 45-year-old George Foreman. Like, it's not going to be easy for anybody. But yeah, some of them are going to be a little bit worse. And I hope the league is not doing something just to make two teams happy, because I feel like Greg Sankey did a really good thing when he said, I'm not going to do what's best for 4 teams. I'm going to do what's best for 14 and not go play those non-conference games. As much as we'd love to see them, I think he did what he thought was best for the entire league. I think you should apply the same strategy to this scheduling.
Cole, we appreciate your time. We look forward to talking to you as practice resumes here at the end of the week.
Thanks for having me, guys.
Thanks,
Cole Cubelic from the SEC Network. Ask Us is next when we return. Hanging with Hester and Hanny, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Hangin' with Hester and Hanny.
All right, we're brought to you by Baton Rouge Foundation Repair. You can go to their website, brfoundation.com. It's going to give you information on those warranties we always tell you about with the slab foundations and the pier and beam foundations. Also, you can check out the gallery of before and afters. They've got a great picture right there on the homepage of exactly what they can do for you. We always say Baton Rouge Foundation Repairs water shield pilings are engineered to withstand poor drainage conditions. Baton Rouge Foundation Repair has been servicing the greater Baton Rouge area for more than 22 years. Their owner, Michael LaMonica, a lifelong resident of Baton Rouge. I'm going to continue to tell you every single day the Baton Rouge market means something to him. That was the number one thing out of his mouth from day one. Don't be asked to pay twice for your foundation repair work. Get Baton Rouge Foundation Repair's water shield pilings. Also, Baton Rouge Foundation Repair can level your above-ground wood frame house. Estimates are always free at 225-275-0101, or you can, again, check them out online on their website at brfoundation.com.
We opened up the playbook and expanded our coverage. Listen daily in high definition on 98.1 HD2. We are 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
If I built a van, it would do more than haul.
It would carry my entire business. I'd make it available in dozens, if not thousands of configurations.
It would keep an eye on my fleet.
And an eye out for danger.
If I built a van, I'd make it available in diesel and gas. And I'd build it right here in South Carolina.
Introducing the all-new Sprinter, starting at $33,790. Built in the USA. Mercedes-Benz. Vans. Born to run.
This is a house call. This is a follow-up appointment. This is a diabetes checkup. This isn't just more convenient care, it's more advanced care. This is innovating healthcare at Louisiana's #1 hospital, Auctioner.
Gulf Coast Bank and Trust is a local bank with a straightforward philosophy.
It's about doing the right thing for our customers.
Participating in our community with annual local fundraisers. Offering individual attention in a modern banking atmosphere with a trusted local company. Gulf Coast Bank invested in technology with a local touch, giving our customers the power to bank anywhere, anytime.
We're building relationships through personal service as the bank that cares about you.
Gulf Coast Bank and Trust, the bank that cares about you.
Are you a licensed contractor? There's lots of good contractors in Louisiana doing work the right way, but unfortunately, too many unlicensed contractors are working outside the licensing requirements. Working as a contractor in Louisiana requires a license for the company doing the work. The Louisiana State Licensing Board for Contractors wants to help you get licensed to allow you to conduct work legally. It's not difficult to get the license. We can help you. Go to lacontractor.org for more information. Licensed contractors, it's the law.
ServiceMaster Elite create clean, disinfected work environments. As a local business, we take pride in serving the New Orleans and Baton Rouge areas. Our cleaning protocols follow CDC and OSHA standards for healthcare settings, offices, senior living, restaurants, and industrial plants. Contact Service Master Elite to get your operation ready for reopening with germ disinfection cleaning. Service Master Elite, the trusted choice in professional cleaning since 1996.
To all of our heroes working on the front lines of this COVID-19 pandemic, your bravery and selflessness represent the very best of us, and we want to say thank you. I'm asking everyone around the state to join me in celebrating the heroism of our healthcare professionals on the 19th of every month at 1900 hours, that's 7 p.m. Write a note of appreciation, make plans to donate to charitable organizations, or say a prayer. To learn more, visit 19thanks.org.
Coming up on Tuesdays Off the Bench, Coach O tells us how they'll use the extended offseason to get ready for Game 1. The Pelicans managed to keep their playoff hopes alive, and a brand new OTB mailbag. Off the Bench, 7 to 10 a.m., 104.5 ESPN.
You know that I got it. Yeah. You know that I got it. Yeah. All this game up in my pocket. Bet that you can't stop it.
Hangin with Hester and Hanny on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge and 1130 The Tiger.
All right, ask us as we jump into the Bayou Ford huddle here. Derek says, will teams lie about positive tests to avoid star players missing key games? You got a medical license and you falsify tests. You just fire yourself, probably borderline criminal. So now, will an administrator do that? No, I don't think so. I don't think so.
Not right now. Not with. I mean, there's going to be so many eyeballs on everything right now.
Yeah. Ask us, how would you do the scheduling? How do you think it will be done? I would take the next two in the rotation. Having the last two in the rotation means teams that you've already played. That's how I would do it. How do I think it will be done? I don't know. This strength of schedule thing, I've asked everybody that we've had on over the last 2 days, and nobody has an answer to what that is. So
I'm with you. I think the next two is the only way that you could say, hey, there's a uniformity to it. We're not going off strength of schedule from God knows where. We're not going back. Florida, sorry. Your schedule's going to be tough. LSU's had a really tough one in 2018 and 19. A&M's had a really tough one in 18 and 19. That's the SEC.
Ask us, is there any doubt that Sankey will give in to Alabama's demands? There's a lot of eyeballs on this, okay? Yeah. This is not one team making a decision and one team getting a little bit of a schedule break. This is 14 teams that have to have this popped on them 8 weeks to the opener. Right. So I don't think so, not like usual.
Yeah, I don't think so either. And Cole makes a great point. LSU's getting two B teams. They're getting two B teams. They're not getting the maybe the Georgia in this model that we're talking about, the A+ team and the F team in
what would you rather?
But you're getting two B teams.
You get a choice between Georgia, Vandy, or Kentucky, Tennessee.
God, you've dominated Georgia. I mean, you have dominated them the last two times, and they're talented. Do not get me wrong, but I mean, you're going to have there's going to be more difficulties for everybody.
I'm taking Kentucky and Tennessee. If those are my two choices, those two pairs, I'm taking Kentucky and Tennessee.
I'm not saying you don't, but I'm saying there's something to both of those teams. Those teams would be greater if you put them together than Georgia and Vanderbilt. But I understand what you're saying about Georgia, because your other thought is, okay, well, eventually they're going to figure it out against LSU because they've been dominated.
It's the most talented roster out of the four by a pretty,
for sure.
Yeah, pretty big margin. Ask us, should we call the scheduling SEC Schedule Palooza? Works for me.
I really do hope they do something, though. That would be must-watch TV, and it would be great ratings for the SEC network if they did.
Absolutely. And have the coaches on a Zoom call.
Oh, absolutely.
I mean, seriously, have all 14 of them on a Zoom call and let them.
The screen has to stay there.
Yes,
though.
I want to see their reactions when it goes, especially one in particular from a couple states over. Ask us, National Watermelon Day. Craig must have a calendar. It's always National something day. National Watermelon Day. Do you put salt on your watermelon?
I do not, but I'm not against it because other melons are delicious with salt on them,
it's
like
good.
Cantaloupe. So
it's really
I'm not opposed to it.
Salt on cantaloupe, really?
Yeah.
I didn't know that. I love cantaloupe.
Try it.
Salt? Okay.
Do it.
I'll give it a shot.
Yeah.
Ask us, Pels or Grizz? Last chance.
Come on, Pels. Give T-Bob some hope. Make it easier for Musso in the morning.
Ask us, Jamar Chase or Josh Reed?
Oh, gosh, I was teammates with Reed, but, God, Jamar Chase was so good last year.
Yeah.
He is so talented. You could see it from the moment he stepped on campus.
I agree. Ask us, have you thought about demanding a 50% gross revenue share and making Gordy take a pay cut? Now, there's an idea.
Yeah, I like it.
There's an idea.
Hear that, G?
Let's see. Ask us, had Tyrann Mathieu played in 2012, does LSU win the SEC or national title? Yeah, I know what play lost it for him, and it doesn't happen if he's there. Ask us, going to you head Watford stay or go? We did this about a half hour ago. I think he's gone.
I think
he's staying. All right, good. Thanks to everybody for participating. Thanks to Musso for pinch hitting in that chair, for Playboy Marty, for Paul O'Neill, for Jacob Hester. I'm Charles Hanagriff saying thank you and good afternoon. Stay tuned for AFR 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Hangin' with Hester and Hanny.
This isn't just another day. It's so much more. Kelly's life was put on hold when her auctioneer primary care doctor discovered a rare blood disorder. Her doctor connected her to an auctioneer care team of cancer, heart, and kidney specialists. With multiple primary care locations around Baton Rouge, same-day appointments, and online scheduling, we're relentless about keeping you healthy.